Life Simulator. Listen to bro, cultivation leads to certain death. Chapter 61, The Return of the Stinky Treasure. The token is correct, please come in. The next day, after his strength increased greatly, Duan Ming chose to enter the 10,000 Souls Pit as soon as possible. He had only one purpose for this trip, which was to summon Chubao back to protect him and add helpers. After all, when the 9 Nether Corpse Refining Technique reaches the second level, one can perform the immortal reincarnation, so there is no reason not to use it. By the way, each level of 9 Nether Corpse Refining Method has unique practical skills, such as the first level teaches how to create corpse puppets, and the second level teaches how to summon corpse puppets. It's just that his situation with Cho Bao is a little special. The master-servant relationship was not established until after they learned the 9 Nether Body Refining Method. Therefore, in order not to expose the fact that he had learned other martial arts and that these martial arts could also control corpse puppets, Duan Ming could only pretend to enter the 10,000 Souls Pit to avoid being seen. After handing over the token and the guard confirming it was correct, he walked through a door made of white bones and entered a dark tunnel. The tunnel is long and winding, with strange murals of unknown meaning carved everywhere. There are many styles of murals, including execution scenes, war scenes, and even birth scenes. It seems that each one foreshadows the two major concepts of death and rebirth. In short, the tunnel is filled with a weird atmosphere that makes people shudder. Even the braziers used for lighting emitted a glowing green light instead of dazzling red. Duan Ming didn't see a single person along the way, not even a ghost. It was so quiet that he could hear his own footsteps. If you stay in this kind of environment for a long time, your mental state will probably either collapse or become abnormal. When he reached the end of the tunnel, he saw a huge bottomless pit. The huge pit is about 10 meters wide, pitch black and with no end in sight. No one knows what is at the bottom. There are also gusts of cold wind blowing here, blowing from the bottom of the giant pit all the way up. When the cold wind blows on people, there is always a strange feeling as if they are being oppressed by a ghost. When you gaze into the abyss may shyly murmur, "What are you staring at?" In the depressing environment, Duan Ming's self-deprecating mode, no, self-destructive mode, was automatically turned on again, and he unconsciously made little jokes to relieve the pressure in his heart. When you ask the abyss what you are looking at, the abyss will probably yell angrily, "I think you look like my father." The dirty talk kept coming one after another, as if there was no end. In a short while, the ghost pit changed from son to grandson, and then to great-grandson, and the generation level kept decreasing. If there really is any living being here, I'm afraid they would really not be able to help but beat Duan Ming to death. After all, his words are too wicked. But no matter how much he complained, the higher the frequency of his complaints, the more it showed that Duan Ming was panicking. Although there was no obvious mortal enemy, it was his first time to come to such a haunted place with extremely strong yin energy. It would be impossible for him not to be triggered at all. After hesitating for a long time, Duan Ming deliberately did nothing. He just stayed quietly near the giant pit, forcing himself to adapt to this gloomy environment. He knew that the best way to face fear was to face the fear itself. After all, I'm sure I'll encounter many similar scenarios in the future. If you back down today, don't have the courage to face it, and run away after finishing the task in a hurry, then you are laying the seeds for disaster in the future. Only by overcoming psychological fear and becoming stronger step by step can this trip be considered fruitful. It was unknown how long it had been, but only after Duan Ming had almost completely adapted to the gloomy environment did he begin to take action. He took out a dagger, cut a gash on the palm of his hand, let the blood drip onto the ground, and then controlled the true chi to make the blood slowly draw a strange pattern. The overall pattern is circular, but it is filled with all kinds of strange symbols, and it is unclear what their origin and purpose are. In fact, this is a kind of magic circle used to summon corpse puppets. It was just because Duan Ming knew nothing about magic arrays that he couldn't understand it and didn't know its meaning. But it's not a big problem. Although I can't understand it, I know how to use it, which is enough to solve the current problem. Soon, the magic circle was constructed. After Duan Ming shouted, "Reincarnation," in a very childish way, a red light flashed. Then, the magic circle constructed with blood slowly changed from bright red to dark red, and then gradually turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye, becoming darker and darker. Moreover, the red light became dimmer and dimmer, as if it would disappear in the next second. However, all this is not important anymore, because Chubao is back and is back with Duan Ming. Just before the red light was about to disappear, the shadow of Cho Bao suddenly appeared, then slowly condensed into a solid entity, and finally took full shape and appeared in front of Duan Ming. Zigyan. Translation. Master. Chu Bao was confused at first, but then he was surprised when he saw Duan Ming. Although it was clearly a corpse puppet, it actually had a human-like smile on its face, which was extremely weird and ugly. It's the master, not the pig Silver. Every time you call me, it feels like you are scolding me. Can you change your spoken language? Although Duan Ming was complaining, his face was full of smiles, and he felt as happy as if he had found his long-lost biological son. However, Chu Bao didn't care at all, and had no awareness of being a corpse puppet or servant. He still spoke in fluent Mandarin. Master, you smell so much blood. Translation. Master, you smell so bloody. Smell of blood. Duan Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Cho Bao to ask such a weird question right away. I haven't killed anyone recently, so where does the smell of blood come from? As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Ming thought of the corpse tea he had drunk before, and he immediately reacted and exclaimed in his heart that it was as expected. Let's not talk about this. Tell me what you've been through since we separated. And did Wang Fa join a big sect? Faced with the question, Chu Bao did not react at all. He just stood there stupidly, without any expression. What's going on? Why is it down again? Is there something wrong with the summoning process? Is there something wrong with my brain? Duan Ming walked forward with a little confusion, wanting to see what Cho Bao was up to and why he suddenly stopped responding. However, just as he got closer, he saw that Chu Bao's eyes turned red, and suddenly he opened his bloody mouth and bit towards him. What the hell? Oh my god, he turned into a zombie. Duan Ming dodged hurriedly and blasted Cho Bao away with a palm. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and was not hurt. However, an unexpected scene occurred. Although he successfully avoided the attack, a wisp of blood-red mist floated out from the previously cut palm. This, looking at his palm and then at Chu Bao, Duan Ming seemed to understand something, but didn't fully understand it. Master, why are you hitting me? Chu Bao came closer with a sullen face and continued. You've been cursed, I'll suck it out for you. Chapter 62. A lot of debt. 10 minutes later. After eating and drinking his fill, Chu Bao collapsed on the ground with a look of contentment on his face. He looked so, like he just needed a cigarette. On the other side, Duan Ming looked weak and exhausted as he sat there gasping for breath, sweat dripping from his entire body. You old thief Fang Lang, just wait and see. One day I will make you pay back 100-fold. Duan Ming cursed and swore at Fang Lang, his expression full of resentment. He knew that the curse that Chu Bao mentioned was almost 100% related to the corpse CT, and it must be a means for Fang Lang to restrain him. If Cho Bao hadn't been smart in this matter, Duan Ming might have suffered a great loss without knowing it. Overall, this can be considered a blessing in disguise, as a serious problem that could have been life-threatening was inadvertently solved. Chu Bao, you are really my lucky star. You are smart and don't look like a dead person. You are much better than those dull corpse puppets. Although Duan Ming trusted Cho Bao, he actually had doubts in his heart. During his time in the soul-breaking sect, he carefully studied the types and uses of corpse puppets, and eventually discovered that Chu Bao seemed to be extremely special. Most corpse puppets are almost consumables. They can only execute simple commands and have no independent consciousness. However, Chu Bao is different. Although he is a little stupid, he does have independent consciousness and can think and communicate. This point alone is enough to show that Chu Bao is different from others. He doesn't look like a real dead person at all. If its heart really wasn't beating, it wouldn't be surprising to say it was a living person. This question had been lingering in Duan Ming's mind, but he didn't dare to mention it to anyone, especially not to ask Fang Lang for advice. If Chu Bao is really of extremely rare quality, equivalent to a national first-class protected corpse puppet, it is inevitable that the other party will covet it. At that time, you will have to give it even if you don't want to, and you might even lose your life. Therefore, Duan Ming never mentioned the matter of Cho Bao from beginning to end and kept his mouth shut. By the way, you haven't told me what happened after you broke up. How are you and Wang Fa doing? After resting for a while, Duan Ming finally recovered, but he was still a little weak, so he didn't leave in a hurry. Instead, he asked Cho Bao again to get information. Of course, he couldn't forget that he had seen Wang Fa's information several times during the simulation, and there were two key nodes. First, Wang Fa joined a large sect and seemed to be receiving special training. Second, the law of the king required him to become a spy and plot to overthrow the soul-breaking sect. in Duan Ming's opinion, this matter can be fully utilized. If successful, it may be possible to use the strategy of killing with a borrowed knife. After all, Fang Lang is at the foundation building level, so it would take an unknown amount of time to kill him personally. However, if he could be killed with the help of righteous means, that would be the best. Zhou Bao turned his head away, thought for a while, organized his words, and slowly replied, holding the knife to kill the coward, licking the sincere monkey, the father is just a virtue. Translation: After I sent Wang Fa to Tianxing City, I lived in a nearby mass grave. During this period, he came to me several times, saying that he had joined the Lingyun sect and had been using the sect's resources to try his best to find your whereabouts. Zhou Bao said a lot of things and it took him nearly 5 minutes to explain everything clearly. Certainly. If it weren't for the fact that its accent was so heavy, it would sound like Tang monk chanting a spell. This gave Duan Ming a headache and he needed to listen to it several times before he could understand it. Otherwise, 1 minute would be enough to explain everything clearly. It's just, even though the process was a bit tortuous, fortunately the result was good and we got all the necessary information. Simply put, after entering Tianxing City, Wang Fa quickly joined the largest sect in the city, Lingyun sect, and was valued by the sect because of his outstanding aptitude for cultivation. Then he began to mobilize the power of the sect to help search for Duan Ming's whereabouts. At this point, there is nothing else, and this is all Zhou Bao knows. Although the information is not much, it is useful enough to confirm what I have in mind. At this time, Duan Ming couldn't help but start to think about how to kill the wolf. I must get in touch with Wang Fa and rely on the power of Lingyun sect. It is worth it even if there are some risks. Otherwise, I will be like a frog in boiling water and will die sooner or later. After thinking it over, Duan Ming felt that at the moment he could only kill Fang Lang by borrowing the power of righteousness. It's not that he doesn't have confidence in himself. Basically, as long as he is given enough time, he can also complete the foundation building and then kill Fang Lang himself. But the problem is, he doesn't have enough time. It can even be said that he doesn't have enough time. Once the righteous invades and launches a massive attack on the soul-breaking sect, if even one of the senior masters dies, causing the mission to fail, Fang Lang will definitely kill him. However, there is only less than a year left before the righteous invasion. No one in history has ever been able to raise one's cultivation from the 4th stage of qi refining to foundation building in such a short period of time. Therefore, Duan Ming, who had extremely poor aptitude for cultivation, could only choose to rely on the power of others to help himself succeed. It seems like I really have to go for the second invitation, but how can I do it secretly so that Fang Lang won't notice? Am I going to visit brothels from today onwards and create the stereotype of someone who is lusty towards women? But it's very expensive. I'm afraid I can't afford it. Time flies, and 1.5 months have passed. During this period, Duan Ming did not go to the brothel and did not act according to his previous ideas. Of course, it's not because his health is not good enough, it's just that his wallet is not full and he is really short of money. In desperation, he could only think of ways to make money all day long. Unfortunately, he didn't get the money. For no reason, he became the husband of 6 girls, the father of 7 children, the brother of 8 men, and the grandson of 9 grandmothers. In short, during this 1.5 months, that group of mortals seemed to have gone crazy, coming to his house every day to extort money. Some are playing the victim, some are seeking to identify themselves as relatives, some are acting like scoundrels. In short, there are all kinds of people. In the end, Duan Ming had to borrow money from Fang Lang to pay compensation, and he was left with a huge debt of 250 taels of silver. For this, he was also ridiculed by Fang Lang, who said that you are too naive and have not experienced enough worldly things. Oh, this life is unbearable. In the small courtyard, Duan Ming looked at his empty wallet, feeling sad. Just now, he sent away a little girl who was clinging to his thigh and calling him grandpa all the time. At this point, the last ounce of silver he had was gone, and he became a complete pauper. Boom boom boom, there was another knock on the door, and Duan Ming jumped 3 feet high in fright. No balls, no birds, come again. Duan Ming didn't want to open the door, he just wanted to escape. He really had no money to compensate. However, before he could walk away, the door was slammed open and cracked. Fortunately, the person who came was none other than his third uncle Li Bian. Chapter 63, Variety of Voice Actor. I didn't know that Third Master had come to visit. I hope you will forgive me for my negligence. May I ask what is the purpose of your visit? Seeing Li Bian rushing in, Duan Ming quickly stood up, put on a mask that would help him deal with the world, hiding his true self, and began to be hypocritically polite. However, Li Bian did not answer. He just walked up to him and looked at him silently. Or rather, Li Bian had no way of answering, after all, he didn't even have a mouth. Third master, wait a moment. I'll go get some writing brush and ink. Seeing that there was no way to communicate and not knowing the other party's purpose, Duan Ming could only turn around and walk towards the study, wanting to get pen and ink so that the other party could write down his ideas. However, just as he turned around, a rough male voice suddenly sounded in his mind. No need to bother, just take this pill and follow me. Suddenly, Duan Ming was stunned. He turned his head and looked at Li Bian, his eyes wide open. Third uncle, were you talking just now? No, were you transmitting the message? Li Bian nodded in acknowledgement, then took out the medicine bottle, poured out a pill, and handed it to Duan Ming. This is, looking at the scarlet pill, Duan Ming felt a little uneasy. What exactly does third master mean? Please tell me clearly. To be honest, Duan Ming definitely didn't want to eat it. The moment he saw the pill, he unconsciously thought of the corpse CT. It is the same scarlet color and has the same faint smell of blood, which always makes people feel that there must be something fishy going on. However, this time Duan Ming was wrong, extremely wrong, and there was no deception involved, but rather poison. Corrupted heart pill, take it quickly. Indeed, the elixir was genuine, it was a blatant poison and would not deceive anyone, but Duan Ming was forced to take it. And this time, Li Bian changed to the voice of a mature woman instead of the uncle voice just now. In addition, her methods of harming people were so straightforward and she didn't even try to conceal them, which immediately made Duan Ming helpless. What's going on? Did you use a voice changer? Will there be a lowly voice later? Bah, that's not right. This idiot, feeding me poison, can actually say it so confidently. Is he sick? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Duan Ming's mind, and finally turned into 10,000 alpacas, galloping past. Third uncle, is there any misunderstanding between us? Although he really wanted to curse, Duan Ming still held back. His expression showed hesitation and confusion. In short, he pretended to be serious. But this time Li Bian really didn't answer, and instead Fang Lang's voice was used. Eat. It was just a simple word, but it exploded in his mind like thunder, making Duan Ming dizzy and almost falling down. Fortunately, Li Bian was quick-witted and stepped forward to support Duan Ming. I am taking you out to carry out the mission under the order of the master. As for taking this medicine, it is the sect rule. All disciples who are less than 10 years old need to take medicine when they go out, otherwise. This time Li Bian used a lowly voice. And Duan Ming guessed it right. This guy is destined to be a voice actor. And because of this, facing Li Bian, whose voice was changeable, Duan Ming still refused to take the pill even after being taught a lesson, and the doubts in his heart increased instead of decreased. He was really scared of being cheated, so he became much more cautious and would not give up until he got to the bottom of the matter. Third master, please don't lie to me. Are you imitating the voice of the Grand Master in order to trick me into taking the elixir? It is not surprising to have such an idea. After all, the ability demonstrated by Li Bian can indeed do this. Unfortunately, Duan Ming thought too much. This time there was no conspiracy or intrigue, but a blatant conspiracy. The next second, Fang Lang's phantom suddenly appeared in the courtyard. He stroked his beard and scolded unhappily, I just asked you to take a pill. Why is it so difficult? Do I have to come and feed you in person? Listen to your third uncle in everything. Don't waste your time. Indeed, Fang Lang is very fierce and bad, but he had never shown such a domineering side in front of Duan Ming. At least he had always been harboring evil intentions and rarely showed them. However, I don't know if he was angry today. His tone was particularly aggressive, as if he was going to kill someone if they disagreed with him. Faced with such an abnormal scene, Duan Ming felt relieved. He quickly stood up and responded respectfully, I will follow the instructions of my master. Duan Ming was very respectful, even though he was just acting. But Li Bian on the side was also very respectful, and he was not acting. Just from his appearance, you can tell that he is really afraid of Fang Lang, afraid to the core. This is also the reason why Duan Ming feels at ease. He knew that the reason why Fang Lang showed such a domineering side was not to target Duan Ming, but to show it to Li Bian. The purpose is obvious, and there are two intentions. Firstly, he wanted to show that Duan Ming was not treated specially and that all his disciples lived under his tyranny. so as to bring them closer. After all, it is easy to enhance feelings when people are in trouble together. Secondly, he told Duan Ming to hide his true purpose, take this opportunity to get closer to him and look for opportunities, and if the time was ripe, he should kill him without mercy. This was Fang Lang's real intention. Although he only appeared on the scene for less than a minute, he dug a big trap for Li Bian and at the same time created a relatively advantageous start for Duan Ming. As expected, people's hearts are unpredictable and there are old perverts everywhere. After Fang Lang's phantom disappeared, Li Bian was obviously much more relieved, but he sent a voice message to Duan Ming with a hint of dissatisfaction. Eat quickly and don't anger the master again, otherwise both you and I will be in trouble, and the consequences will be very serious. This time, Li Bian used the voice of an old lady, which sounded like chanting. It felt a bit weird that when you go home for the new year, someone will ask you whether you are married, how much you earn, how your grades are, etc. Helplessly, Duan Ming could only take the heart-corrupting pill and swallow it in one gulp, while complaining in his heart. I had originally thought that after contacting Wang Fa, I would join the Lingyun sect and escape from the Duanyun sect, but now it seems that is no longer possible. The Demon Dao cult is different. They don't treat their disciples as human beings at all. They have to take poison when going out. This is a precaution. Even though he had 1,000 thoughts and was unwilling, Duan Ming could only choose to endure it silently at the moment. There was no other way to solve it. I don't know what Third Uncle Master wants to say. Although Duan Ming is weak, he will definitely help with all his strength. Things have come to this point, and there is no point in saying more. All one can do is take one step at a time. Duan Ming once again put on his social mask, and spoke polite words fluently. Li Bian did not keep the secret and said in a childish voice, the disciples stationed in a nearby town have lost contact recently. Master sent us to check and find out the reason. As if he felt that he had not explained it clearly enough and was worried that Duan Ming might have concerns, Li Bian paused for a while and then used a strong man's voice to convey the message. Don't worry, there are other fellow disciples on this trip, a total of 5 people, and I am the leader. It's just a small mission, nothing unexpected will happen, don't worry too much. Chapter 64. First encounter with Zhang Feng. 10 minutes later, Duan Ming reluctantly followed Li Bian to the small town at the foot of the mountain and headed towards the exit. The journey was truly wonderful, and the people I met were hard to describe. In short, compared to the first time he entered the town, the treatment Duan Ming received was not much different, but something seemed wrong. Husband, where are you going? The child at home is running out of milk, give me some living expenses. Brother, are you going out on a mission? Remember to bring a gift for me when you come back. Grandson, walk slower. Grandma wants to see you off. Dad, my crotch is torn, can you help me sew it up? UB ********* D, you can go out and do your business, but don't mess around with other girls, or I'll beat you up when I get home. The painting style is unique, as if all the people on the street are Duan Ming's relatives and friends. No matter where he goes, people will greet him, like a star-studded group of people. This scene also made Li Bian, who was traveling with him, look sideways. Although he didn't say anything, his eyes showed it all, as if he was saying, I've been here for so many years and haven't gotten into so much trouble, but you are better than me. You are truly the child of doom and are extremely unlucky. Duan Ming was full of grievances, and said angrily, Third Master, let's go quickly, I can't stand it anymore. Fortunately, Li Bian had no bad taste and did not do anything bad just to watch the show. He quickly led him out of the town and away from the sea of bitterness. As soon as they walked out of the town and arrived near the exit, they could see 3 young men standing under the shade of a tree from afar, looking at Duan Ming and the others. If nothing unexpected happens, they should be teammates on this trip. There were 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, who were about the same age as Duan Ming. They all looked immature, with the youthfulness still not fading from their faces. However, disciples of the soul-breaking sect often cannot judge people by their appearance. He looks innocent and pure, but in fact he may have a dark heart and be a villain who kills people without blinking an eye. Therefore, Duan Ming immediately memorized the appearance of the 3 people and observed them secretly. Senior Li, we have been waiting here for a long time. When will we set off? One of the men walked up to him, first saluted Li Bian with his fists clasped, and then asked what was on his mind. However, his words were not respectful and seemed to be just for show. He would glance at Duan Ming from time to time, and no one knew what he was thinking. Now go. Li Bian seemed to be an impatient person. Without any unnecessary words, he immediately used the clapper sound to convey his message to everyone. After saying that, he took the lead and walked towards the exit. At the same time, he kept mumbling something, as if he was chanting some kind of door-opening spell, similar to Mami Mamoru or Open Sesame. After the spell was completed, he turned around and nodded to everyone. Every time you go out, you need to recite this spell before you can pass. Otherwise, you will be detected immediately and reported to the defense team. It's just that we are weak and not yet qualified to know the spell. You should understand the reason. The young man who had just come to greet him suddenly turned around and explained to Duan Ming. He seemed quite warm-hearted and his actions were very natural, as if he was a senior who was taking care of a newbie. However, his next words immediately exposed his true nature, instantly raising Duan Ming's vigilance to the highest level. Junior brother Duan Ming, that's right, right. Hello, my name is Zhang Feng. Zhang means arrogant, and Feng means crazy. It's a pleasure to travel with you, and I hope we can take care of each other on the rest of the journey. Zhang Feng smiled brightly, and his appearance was neat and clean, like a sunny boy, which made him very likable. However, after hearing the other party's self-introduction, Duan Ming couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, then he immediately recovered and responded with the same sunny smile. What a good name, what a good name, an arrogant madman, it sounds domineering. Since senior brother Zhang has invited me so kindly, I will respectfully obey your orders. I hope you will not despise me for my low ability and my inability to help you. A smile is a magical thing. It can be shown to friends and family, as well as to enemies. It is full of sincerity and yet contains hypocrisy. At this moment, both Zhang Feng and Duan Ming had hypocritical smiles on their faces, each with their own ulterior motives. No, no, Chi refining fourth stage, only one realm lower than mine, how can you be considered inferior in strength? Junior brother Duan Ming is too modest. If you really encounter an enemy, you can't hide behind, ha 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 ha. Originally the topic could have ended here. Whatever tricks or bad intentions you have, you can just use them, but Zhang Feng seemed not to be satisfied yet. He was enjoying torturing Duan Ming very much and kept pestering him with endless words. I wonder where junior brother Duan Ming is from. His accent sounds like, he's from the south, and I don't know where he lives. Maybe you and I are from the same hometown. You're not in a position to disclose it. It seems like you have something sad, but did an enemy harm your family? Tell me, and I'll take revenge for you. This journey will take about 3 days. I brought some wine with me. How about singing and drinking along the way? Junior brother Duan Ming doesn't like to laugh, that's not good. You know, people who like to laugh usually don't have bad luck. Before, my servant didn't like to laugh. He had a sad face all day long, as if everyone owed him money. It was annoying to see him, so I showed mercy and helped him. Now he laughs happily every day and can't stop. Zhang Feng, his name suits him. It is still unknown whether he is crazy or not, but his arrogance is displayed to the fullest. Along the way, he didn't care about Li Bian's feelings at all and kept breaking the rules. Sometimes he wanted to drink, sometimes he wanted to sing, and he had no idea how to hide his tracks. His behavior was extremely high profile, and it looked like they were going on a picnic rather than carrying out a mission, and the other two people in the group seemed to be afraid of Zhang Feng as well. While putting on a smile, they also kept helping with chores, serving tea and water, and their service was quite thoughtful. No matter how you look at it, Zhang Feng seems to be the leader of the team, while Li Bian has become a person with little presence. He only knows how to lead the way and doesn't care about anything else. In this way, Duan Ming endured for a long time, constantly playing Tai Chi and pretending to be nice. After half a day, he felt really annoyed and couldn't stand the harassment anymore, so he suddenly quickened his pace and walked to Li Bian's side and walked with him. At the same time, Li Bian glanced at Duan Ming, as if he had seen through his thoughts, and said in a voice transmission, "He is the master's disciple, be patient and don't offend him." In an instant, Duan Ming understood. It turned out that he was a relative of his own. No wonder he was so arrogant and domineering, acting like a playboy. It turned out that the backer behind him was strong enough. Duan Ming nodded slightly to indicate that he understood. After all, he didn't know how to transmit sound, so he could only use actions to express his meaning. Just like that, the group of 5 people walked towards their destination with discord on their faces. Chapter 65. What? Are you sick too? Hetai town is the closest mortal town to the soul-breaking sect. On the surface, this place looks no different from any other town. However, there are undercurrents in the background, with countless hidden spies engaged in the corpse trafficking business. Yes, that's right, no buying and selling, no killing. On the contrary, an organization like the soul-breaking sect, which is heavily dependent on corpses, will naturally need to purchase them from outside. After all, the demand is so great that if we simply rely on killing, we will inevitably arouse the wrath of heaven and the resentment of the people, thus bringing about unnecessary trouble and making it difficult to keep a low profile. Especially if you make materials yourself, you will definitely get into trouble and make too many enemies. It seems that in the near future, even if the soul-breaking sect has restrained itself a lot, it will still attract the attention of the orthodox sect. If we let our hands and feet go and mess around, the storm will only come more violently, faster and more difficult to stop. In fact, the soul-breaking sect was forced to relocate its base 3 times due to such problems before finally settling down here. That's why white gloves came into being. In order not to dirty its hands and to avoid being involved in cause and effect as much as possible, the small town of Hetai naturally formed a gray industrial chain. There are a large number of tomb-robbing organizations among the people. They often travel back and forth between places, digging up graves and then selling them to the soul-breaking sect. In this way, the soul-breaking sect can get the materials without having to do it themselves, and the mortals in Hetai town will also have stable jobs. It's a win-win situation, both sides get what they want, and the only ones who get hurt are the dumb corpses and their descendants who will never be able to celebrate Qingming festival again. But something went wrong recently. The disciple who was originally responsible for purchasing the corpses has not been in contact for half a month. Originally, the sect leader didn't care. After all, when you are out, accidents are bound to happen, so nothing should be surprising. In addition, many disciples had died over the years, and things had become second nature, so they didn't take it seriously from the beginning. Anyway, we can't investigate every missing disciple, right? That would be exhausting. Besides, he was just an errand boy, his life was not precious. If he disappeared, no one cared. Maybe, probably, possibly, who knows, maybe one day we will have the chance to meet again. But, although people can die, business cannot stop. Or in other words, in the soul-breaking sect's values, living people are not more valuable than dead people, and when it comes to resources and interests, human life has to take a back seat. So Li Bian came, and he brought his team with him. In name, they came to investigate the truth behind the disappearance of the secret agent, but in reality they came to deal with the recent backlog of business and replenish the supply for the sect as soon as possible. In short, replenish the stock as soon as possible and investigate the missing persons. This was the task order Li Bian received. 3 days later, in a private room of a restaurant in the small town. At this time, Li Bian had disappeared, and only Duan Ming and others were staying in the room bored, doing their own things. The food is okay, but the wine is a little lackluster. This place is getting worse every year. There's no improvement at all. Zhang Feng ordered a table full of dishes and ordered a pot of Zui Hong Chen, and was enjoying the delicious food alone. As for the other 3, they did not come to the table. Duan Ming didn't want to eat it. Who knew the other party might poison it or have some bad ideas in mind? The other 2 accompanying disciples were not qualified to eat and were only qualified to serve Zhang Feng by serving tea and water. Junior brother Duan, you really don't want to eat anything. Although there is a fasting technique, it is rare to come out, so at least I can satisfy my appetite. Why should I be so restrained? Zhang Feng raised his glass and drank it all, then said to Duan Ming happily, it's hard to refuse such a kind invitation. In response to this, Duan Ming just chuckled and shook his head. After 3 days of getting along, he was too lazy to be hypocritical with Zhang Feng anymore. After all, the other party has confirmed his identity and knows that he is from Duanjia village, otherwise why would they bother to show goodwill to win him over? In this case, it is useless to cover it up. Duan Ming simply stops pretending and doesn't want to play along with the other party anymore. Thank you for your consideration, senior brother Zhang. Today is the 100th anniversary of the Teletubbies vs. Ultraman battle. As a sign of respect, I cannot eat for the time being. Duan Ming talked nonsense for a while, mainly because he was too lazy to think of excuses. Anyway, no matter what he said, the result would be the same, so there was no need to bother dealing with the other party. What's more, every time Duan Ming saw Zhang Feng's confused look, he felt secretly happy in his heart, as if he was teasing a child. Junior brother Duan, Why do you always say nonsense that no one can understand? Is there something wrong with your brain? Zhang Feng narrowed his eyes, a hint of coldness flashed across them, but his words were still insincere. Naturally, he couldn't understand Ultraman and Teletubbies. It wasn't because he didn't have a childhood, but because products from other worlds were difficult to import. The tariffs might be expensive, so most people couldn't afford them. Therefore, whenever Duan Ming talked nonsense, he couldn't help but feel his veins throbbing, and he felt a sense of frustration as if he was being made a fool of. As for Duan Ming, he certainly wouldn't care how Zhang Feng felt. Or to be more precise, the more uncomfortable Zhang Feng felt, the more he wanted to talk nonsense, continue to provoke the other party, and increase his intensity. So. Oh, yes, I'm sick, do you have any medicine? Generous and neat, just so crazy and cool, he directly admitted that he was mentally ill, so what? Adhering to the principle that a shameless person is invincible, Duan Ming went all the way and gave up completely, with an attitude of, what can you do to me? If you don't accept it, just hit me, which really d off Zhang Feng, but he miscalculated this time. He never expected that Zhang Feng would silently take out the medicine bottle and hand it to him. It turned out that there was really medicine. That's what I was wondering, how could we get along so well? What a coincidence. I also have a brain disease, and I happen to bring some medicine with me. Would you like to take some? Duan Ming was stunned. He felt really bad about being outmaneuvered. For a moment he didn't know how to end the situation. May I ask what disease senior brother Zhang has? After all, you can't take medicine randomly. You have to take it according to the symptoms. Zhang Feng smiled shyly, and even felt a little embarrassed, and slowly said, it's nothing special, just an ordinary mental illness. My master calls it, Devil King Syndrome. What? Duan Ming was stunned again and again. He felt that he was being fooled by Zhang Feng. It seemed that the other party was also talking nonsense. He was just using his own method to retaliate. However, Zhang Feng was not joking. After thinking for a while, he explained seriously, he has a strong desire to attack. He is dissatisfied with everything he sees, especially the group and rules. Once he is restrained, he must destroy it, and he often has the urge to kill. Zhang Feng talked a lot and it took him nearly 3 minutes to explain it clearly. However, Duan Ming understood it. He only understood the opening paragraph. Is this guy really not pretending? It's so similar to antisocial personality disorder. Is there really something wrong with your brain? Shit, one law is not enough, now here comes a mental patient. Do I have to change my career to study medicine? Chapter 66. What a coincidence, there is someone below me. Antisocial personality disorder, also known as ruthless personality disorder or sociopathy, is an extremely serious mental illness. Usually, people with this disease can only get the 3 treatments of BNK. It cannot be cured, there is no hope, just wait to die. Generally speaking, the symptom of the disease is high aggressiveness. If something can be done with hands, the patient will never nag about it, but if something cannot be done with hands, he will force himself to do it. And most aggressive behavior is driven by accidental motivations, which are similar to you are walking on the street and suddenly you are stabbed. The reason the other person stabs you is because your back is not good looking enough, or you did not block the sunlight for him, so you are dead. There is a saying that goes, human beings are slaves to logic, and all behaviors cannot escape these 2 words, unless the person is mentally ill. It is so unreasonable and extremely harmful. Even if you don't provoke the other party, you still can't escape the danger of your life. Moreover, this patient extremely hates worldly rules and believes that all rules are constraints and shackles that need to be broken. Things like running a red light while crossing the road are common little things that happen almost every day. Even so, how many people dare to say with confidence that they can do it? If you muster up the courage to do it once one day, just once, it would be enough to brag about for the rest of your life. Ordinary people don't have this ability, you know. You have to first figure out the concept of being a devil, or you won't be able to do it, understand? Then I'm afraid I can't take this medicine. I have righteous syndrome, which is exactly the opposite of your disease. I think it will have the opposite effect. Duan Ming thought about it for a while and felt that no matter whether it was true or false, this medicine must not be taken, so he started talking nonsense again, making up a bunch of excuses and trying to get away with it. However, Zhang Feng was unwilling to give in, and seemed to insist that Duan Ming take it. He said loudly, it's okay, the worst that can happen is that you will just eat a dead person, don't worry. As he spoke, he pointed upwards with his finger, and then in an extremely arrogant tone, he said again, I have someone above me. The head of the sect is my master. If you die from eating, I promise to help you choose a feng shui treasured place to bury you, so you don't have to worry about the future. How should I put it? Zhang Feng is quite considerate. He is the second person willing to help Duan Ming collect the body. It sounds quite friendly. However, Duan Ming did not appreciate it. He pointed his finger downwards and said, what a coincidence. I have people below me. The ox-head and horse-faced demon are my friends, the judge is my buddy, and I can even say a few words to the king of hell. Don't bother senior brother Zhang, I will make arrangements for myself after I die. As the saying goes, the higher the virtue, the higher the evil. In terms of his ability to talk nonsense, Duan Ming has yet to meet an opponent, so it is naturally impossible for him to let Zhang Feng take advantage of him. In short, any kind of nonsense can be made up. If someone says he won't take the medicine, then he will definitely not take it. After all, Zhang Feng is not Fang Lang, and he can't force anyone with absolute strength. Oh, so, I didn't expect junior brother Duan to be so well connected that he could even establish connections with the underworld. I underestimated you. Zhang Feng put away the medicine bottle, pretended to be regretful, sat back down, filled the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp. In fact, this medicine can also detoxify, especially it has a great restraining effect on the corrupted heart pill. Since junior brother Duan doesn't want to take it, forget it. These words sounded a bit childish. Even if Duan Ming was only 3 years old, he would not be fooled, of course. If they are 2.5 years old, there might still be a chance that they will eat it. Brother Zhang, you've gone too far. If this medicine can really suppress the corrupted heart pill, then how did you bring it out? Isn't this clearly breaking the rules? As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Ming regretted it. For a moment, he even forgot that the other party had antisocial personality disorder, and the rules seemed meaningless to him. As expected, after listening to it, Zhang Feng sneered, aren't rules meant to be broken? Otherwise, what's the point? Could it be that junior brother Duan is still a person who follows the rules? Don't be funny, although the arrogance in you is well hidden, it is not deep enough. A very precise point. Although Zhang Feng might be really crazy, it doesn't mean that he is a fool. He could see the arrogance in Duan Ming, a kind of self-confidence that was engraved in his bones and could not be erased. Unlike ordinary cultivators, the level of their cultivation will affect the strength of their self-confidence, but Duan Ming is different. Even though his cultivation is low and even if he is in dangerous situations, he can always remain confident, as if everything is temporary and can be overcome sooner or later. Not being happy with things, not being sad with yourself, this is the mentality that few people can really achieve. Duan Ming was not panicked when he was seen through. Instead, he continued to refuse, saying, I can't eat that either. Senior brother Zhang is the master's disciple. His special status is naturally not comparable to ours. If I take this pill, I will definitely be punished when I return to the sect. After he finished speaking, Zhang Feng laughed and couldn't help laughing wildly. His expression seemed particularly sick, like the signs of an illness. Ha ha ha, because my master is the head, I get special treatment. Wrong, absolutely wrong. My master has accepted 83 apprentices in his lifetime, which is why I am so arrogant and domineering. Duan Ming didn't understand, but he seemed to understand. It feels like the other party is trying to show off how powerful he is, so he dares to ignore the rules of the sect and do anything without any taboos. However, he did not expect that Zhang Feng's next sentence would make him speechless. Zhang Feng's expression changed rapidly, sometimes he was smiling, sometimes he was ferocious, and finally he said word by word in a cold tone that seemed to come from the abyss. There are 83 disciples, but I am the only one alive. Do you understand? In just that instant, Duan Ming's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. His eyes narrowed into slits as he looked at Zhang Feng very seriously. Unfortunately, the latter seemed to have completely lost interest. He no longer paid attention to anyone and didn't want to say another word. He just kept drinking. For a moment, Duan Ming didn't know what to say, and finally could only use silence instead of answering. But he couldn't help but let his imagination run wild, and many questions came to his mind. If only one person survived among 83 people, it could not be an accident or a natural death. It must have been deliberately caused by humans. It is hard to imagine what Zhang Feng has gone through to survive until now. He has become what he is now, suffering from a serious mental illness, which is probably closely related to the sect leader. Of course, the most important thing is, what kind of organization is the soul-breaking sect? Why do all the leaders have a hobby of harming their disciples? This is true for Fang Lang and the sect leader. Is it true for everyone else as well? What on earth are they trying to do? What's their purpose? Why are they all so perverted? There isn't a single normal person among them. Chapter 67 The most profitable method, that's how it is. You can just stay here for a while and wait for me to finish my business. Then I will return to the sect. An hour later, Li Bian returned and told everyone the news he had heard. Of course, it is worth mentioning that, this time the voice used is gentle and ladylike, which is very fascinating. Simply put, there was no fighting here, nor was there any invasion by foreign enemies. The missing disciple did not die, but simply ran away with his sister-in-law and the money. That was all. At this point, the mission was declared completed and everyone's trip was in vain. However, they cannot leave for now, because there are still many backlogged buying and selling matters, and all of this needs to be handled by Li Bian personally. After all, it involves important strategic resources, and cannot be taken lightly. At the same time, due to confidentiality and other reasons, Duan Ming and others are currently not qualified to participate, so they can only be left in the restaurant for the time being and do whatever they want. There are a lot of things to do, and the sect is pressing us. I won't be here for the next few days. You guys just stay here and don't cause any trouble. As expected, he was an impatient person. Li Bian had just come back and hadn't even had a cup of tea. He just said hello and was about to leave again. It seems that there are indeed a lot of things to do. I'm afraid that if he hadn't considered Zhang Feng's face, he wouldn't even rush back to say this nonsense. By the way, if you are really bored, you can try to find the defecting disciple. After all, he ran away with a lot of money, so this matter cannot be left like this. And, he left in a hurry this time and only took the silver bills with him. A pile of cash is nowhere to be found. We can go look for it. It should be hidden in the town. Whether it is catching someone or finding the silver, it is a great achievement, and I will definitely be rewarded when I return to the sect. It seemed that he was worried that everyone would become bored and cause trouble when they were idle, so Li Bian gave them a few instructions before leaving, which could be regarded as giving them something to do. However, Zhang Feng and the other two disciples naturally had little interest in this and had no motivation at all. On the contrary, when Duan Ming heard the word silver, the gleam in his eyes was so sharp that people almost misunderstood whether it was the arrival of Ultraman. Junior brother Duan, are you short of money? Seeing Duan Ming's unusual reaction, Zhang Feng, who originally had no idea, suddenly became interested and asked enthusiastically. People are in a hurry just to make a few pieces of silver, but they don't know that the more they are in a hurry, the less silver they will have. Why don't we go rob? We can kill people to relieve boredom and steal property at the same time, which is a win-win situation. So, I will be responsible for killing people, and you will be responsible for stealing money. I believe we can cooperate happily and spend this wonderful holiday together. The name Zhang Feng was really well chosen. He is an arrogant madman and his style of doing things is so domineering. As soon as Li Bian left, he had already started thinking about how to cause trouble. It was obvious that he was a man who could not sit still. Of course, the main reason was to take this opportunity to get close to Duan Ming and get some information from him. Duan Ming naturally couldn't agree to this, and immediately declined. Brother Zhang, you are joking. A gentleman loves money. However, before he could finish his words, Zhang Feng interrupted him again with a very sunny smile. Do I look like I'm kidding? Do you think robbery is too slow to make money? How about this? I brought a lot of explosive talismans. We can stick them all over the town and threaten all the residents to pay protection fees. How about that? This way, I can make money quickly and in large quantities, and it is also easy and hassle-free. Is this okay? Sure enough, the most profitable methods are written in the criminal law. It's a pity that there is no criminal law in the immortal cultivation world, so Zhang Feng has really become a true lawless outlaw. The methods he mentioned were more cruel and heartless than the last, and they did not take human life seriously at all. In other words, they simply treat human life as fun and play with it however they want. Hearing this, Duan Ming smiled lightly. He was too lazy to argue and still declined politely. Brother Zhang, do whatever you want. Just follow your heart. After all, when we set out on this journey to seek the way to immortality, all we seek is to have an idea. but I have my own way of doing things, so I won't work with senior brother Zhang. Goodbye. To be honest, Duan Ming had wanted to leave a long time ago. He really didn't want to stay with Zhang Feng, but he had to stay here due to the mission requirements. Now that the mission is over and everyone is free again, there is naturally no reason to stay any longer. After all, who would want to stay with a madman? Therefore, after finishing his words, Duan Ming stood up and walked out without any hesitation. However, Zhang Feng did not intend to give up. He also stood up and followed him, and said arrogantly, "What a coincidence. I also have my own way of doing things. In simple terms, I am domineering. I will follow you even if you don't want to." Faced with such sticky talk, Duan Ming was naturally very angry, but he was helpless and could only frown and ignore it. Just like that, Zhang Feng followed and yelled at the other two disciples behind him, "You two, get out of here, go back and play with the spoon handles, don't follow me." The speaker may not mean it, but the listener may take it seriously. In Duan Ming's opinion, Zhang Feng must be his enemy without a doubt. The other party would take the initiative to drive away the other two disciples at that moment. His purpose was obvious. He definitely wanted to create an opportunity to be alone. Then, some unexpected events will happen naturally. After glancing at Zhang Feng, Duan Ming said nothing and continued to walk out, but his eyes were filled with murderous intent. She refining 5th stage, one level higher than me, is indeed a bit tricky. But with Chubao's help, in a 2-on-1 situation, there's still a chance of winning. What's more, when it comes to actual combat skills, he is definitely not as good as me. After all, I have simulated hundreds of years of combat experience. If I fight against an enemy of the same level, I will have no rival. Since he is in a hurry to come and die, don't blame me for being cruel. Duan Ming thought as he walked, and was ready to fight with Zhang Feng. After all, in his opinion, the better off fighting this battle is, the sooner the better. Since we have to fight anyway, it would be better to resolve the problem early to avoid further complications. In this way, he walked all the way out of the town, going to any remote place, which was clearly a sign of taking action. However, Zhang Feng was like a fool, not caring at all. He still followed leisurely behind him, looking very relaxed, as if he could not see Duan Ming's true purpose. But if you really treat him as a fool, he will die without knowing how. This guy Zhang Feng must have extremely strong confidence in his own strength. That's why he followed without fear and openly. Chapter 68 Unkillable, Junior Brother Duan, I think this place is good, don't leave. Outside the town, in a remote grove, Zhang Feng stopped and said with a smile, "You have good taste. The feng shui of this place is good. It is perfect for a cemetery." At this point, with only the two of them left alone, both sides stopped pretending, and began to speak out their true thoughts. Duan Ming, in particular, did not conceal his murderous intent at this moment, which was in sharp contrast to his previous gentle and elegant image. On the contrary, Zhang Feng is still as arrogant as he was just now, with no significant change. As long as senior brother Zhang is satisfied, it's good. After all, it's a token of my love. I hope you will accept it. At this moment, Duan Ming still had a smile on his face, but the movements of his hands were not vague at all. He had already drawn out the sword and showed an expression that said, "Don't be afraid, I'll just stab you, it won't hurt." Huh, Zhang Feng scratched his head, "Do you know who I am? This is not a suitable place to bury me." As Zhang Feng spoke, he walked towards Duan Ming. His steps, which showed no regard for his relatives, were really a bit too much. In response to this, Duan Ming responded bluntly, "Of course, if you dare to take one more step forward, I will kill you." "Wow, you're so arrogant, but you don't seem to be that capable." Zhang Feng laughed sarcastically, but he stopped and did not move forward. Obviously, he also realized that Duan Ming was not easy to deal with and was definitely not an ordinary scumbag, so he became much more cautious for a while. However, although he stopped, Duan Ming moved first. Duan Ming raised his hand and grasped the sword blade, then slashed it fiercely, cutting his palm, and the ground was immediately dyed red with blood. Then he knelt on one knee again and pressed his palm hard to the ground. After a bang, the earth shook and a black wooden coffin slowly rose from the ground. Bang, the coffin opened, and Qiu Bao walked out slowly. He first glanced at Zhang Feng, and then turned his gaze to Duan Ming. "Zhu Yin, do you want to kill him?" Translation: Master, are you going to kill him? 9 Nether Corpse Refining Technique. You are so favored. Fang Lang actually gave you the highest secret technique of the sect. How could my master be so ignorant that he didn't teach me? Before Duan Ming could give any orders, Zhang Feng was the first to exclaim, as if he had seen something incredible. Duan Ming could naturally sense something strange from his words. He frowned slightly, feeling very puzzled. Is the nine nether corpse refining technique very high level? Doesn't he know how to do it? Doesn't his master teach him? In an instant, many questions emerged in his mind, but he couldn't care less at the moment. Duan Ming just thought that the other party was deceiving him, so he let his guard down, FK him. Without any unnecessary words, Duan Ming drew his sword and rushed forward, stabbing Zhang Feng straight in the middle of his eyebrows. At the same time, Chubao also moved, but its attack method was very different. It had no skills and just fought head-on. Ding! The sound was deafening, like the collision of metal and stone, or the clashing of swords. Duan Ming's sword and Cho Bao's fist all hit the target successfully and smashed into Zhang Feng all at once. But the latter stood still, showing no fear at all, and not even a scratch on his skin. Ha ha, junior brother Duan, have you forgotten what I said? Do you really know who I am? The master's apprentice, a patient with the Devil's King syndrome, or a fellow villager from Duanjia village? No, all of it is wrong. I am the only one who survived among the 83 people, this is the correct answer. Zhang Feng did not take the opportunity to counterattack, but instead took the initiative to retreat, looking at Duan Ming with a smile, and spoke word by word. His meaning was very clear. He wanted to express that since he was the only one who survived among so many disciples, his strength must be strong. But it's okay that he is strong, but he can block the sword blade with his face and remain unscathed. This is a bit too much. At that moment, Duan Ming even felt that he was not chopping a living person, but a zombie like Chubao, whose whole body was hard. Stop talking nonsense. Duan Ming had no habit of hesitating. Since he had already made the move, he no longer cared about the consequences and quickly began to practice his skills. In an instant, a foul odor filled the entire place. The smell was like the rotting smell of an old corpse. Even the grass that was supposed to be green was turning yellow and decaying at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, Duan Ming's eyes also turned scarlet, and the world in front of him was covered with a layer of blood, which was both blurry and clear. Look at the sword. A sword thrust out, the blade sharp and deadly. However, Duan Ming himself did not move at all. He still stood in the same place, maintaining the posture of drawing his sword. Instead, the stench suddenly turned into a strong wind, blew up, whistled past, and slammed into Zhang Feng. The next second, his skin began to turn red, then yellow, and then quickly decayed like a dead tree, about to die. The whole process was completed in just a moment, so fast that it was unimaginable and impossible to guard against. At this time, Zhang Feng also realized that something was wrong, but it was too late to escape. He quickly pulled out the dagger and stabbed himself in the heart. Blood gushed out and he fell to the ground. For a moment, Duan Ming was stunned, and Cho Bao also stopped and stepped aside. They didn't understand Zhang Feng's operation. What on earth was this guy doing? Moreover, the full-strength attack just now failed to hurt Zhang Feng, but now he was pierced by a dagger, and no one knew what material it was made of. After just 3 seconds, the answer was revealed, and Duan Ming didn't have to wait too long. Zhang Feng, who should have fallen to the ground and died, suddenly began to twitch like a madman, as if he had been electrocuted, and strange black lines began to spread on his body, entangling his entire body. Why am I the one who survived? Humph. 9 nether corpse refining technique. Maggot fly corpse sea sword. You are really favored by Fang Lang, and it seems that you are also an unlucky guy who will not live long. What a pity. Oh, right. The reason I was able to survive was not because I was strong enough, but because I couldn't die. Zhang Feng slowly got up and raised his head. His face was extremely pale, as if all the blood in his body had been drained out. And his pupils, there were no pupils, only whites. With this appearance and these injuries, he is still alive. It doesn't seem normal no matter how you look at it. Is he really alive? The moment he saw Zhang Feng stand up, Duan Ming had this question in his mind. Is this guy really a living person? Life and death are only a fine line apart. Junior brother Duan, tell me, which side am I on now? After saying that, Zhang Feng rushed forward and approached Cho Bao, so fast that people could not see clearly. Then he threw a punch, and in the next second, there was a loud bang, and Chu Bao was blown away, with even a large dent in his chest. If it were an ordinary cultivator, if he were to be hit head-on by this attack, he would definitely die on the spot and there would be no possibility of survival. Is this the power that Zhang Feng relies on? A living person, who is stronger than a zombie. A living person, who was fatally wounded but still alive. Chapter 69 Misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. It looks like you're in some trouble, do you need help? Just as Duan Ming and Zhang Feng were confronting each other, a familiar voice suddenly sounded from behind them. The two men turned their heads and saw a young man in white clothes walking out from behind a tree. He looked very showy and seemed to deserve a beating. For a moment, both sides were stunned, and then there was a cry of surprise. Duan Ming exclaimed, "King's Law." Zhang Feng exclaimed, "Benefactor." They both exclaimed at the same time, "Huh? What did you say?" Wang Fa's appearance instantly changed the situation on the battlefield, but the atmosphere became extremely strange. Not only was the smell of gunpowder gone, but it was instead filled with confusion and puzzlement. "Ha, this is really interesting. You two actually started fighting." Why, there was something else behind his words, and it was also a reunion of old friends, so Duan Ming didn't react for a moment. He looked at Zhang Feng in confusion, as if asking, "What did you call the King's Law just now, benefactor? What kind of benefactor would kill your whole family and massacre your hometown?" However, Zhang Feng didn't care about that. Contrary to his usual behavior, his arrogant attitude disappeared instantly and he was as happy as a 300-pound child. "My benefactor, I have investigated clearly that this thief is the remnant of Duanjia village. To prevent him from seeking revenge on you in the future, let's join forces to kill him." Zhang Feng spoke so confidently that Duan Ming was immediately at a loss, with his head full of question marks. What does that mean? Is he really grateful to the king for killing his entire family? Does he not intend to avenge Duanjia village? Seeing Duan Ming's confused look, Wang Fa laughed out loud. "You two started fighting without even talking to each other. Aren't you a bit brave?" Huh, this time Zhang Feng was also confused. He finally understood what was going on and pointed at Duan Ming and asked, "Benefactor, could he be?" Wang Fa nodded in acknowledgement and said slowly, "Well, he was one of the culprits who worked with me to destroy Duanjia village. It can be said that way. After all, the man surnamed Zhang died at his hands." Upon hearing this, Zhang Feng was struck by lightning. He felt numb and stood there in a daze, muttering, "Abba Abba," over and over again. Duan Ming seemed to understand, but also seemed not to understand, and asked Wang Fa, "No, what exactly do you mean, do you know him?" Wang Fa curled his lips, looking like he was enjoying a good show, and responded casually, "Isn't this obvious enough? He has a grudge against Duanjia village, and he especially hates that Zhang guy, so he calls me his benefactor. I wonder why you two started fighting." After saying this, Duan Ming was stunned, recalling the results of the simulation in his mind. He was sure that he remembered correctly, he had indeed been attacked and killed by Zhang Feng. Then how could the situation at the scene have turned out like this? Oh, shit, as if he suddenly remembered something, Duan Ming couldn't help but curse. "During the simulation, I pushed all the blame for the destruction of the village onto Wang Fa, which resulted in the other party mistakenly believing that I was a remnant of Duanjia village and would seek revenge on Wang Fa sooner or later. In other words, he killed me just to protect the law and prevent me from seeking revenge in the future. Damn it. What the hell is going on? I am his benefactor." In an instant, Duan Ming understood. He understood everything. It was just a misunderstanding. Although I don't know why Zhang Feng hates Uncle Zhang, everything makes sense and the logic goes well. It's just that the process is a little tortuous. Half an hour later, Duan Ming, Wang Fa, and Zhang Feng, three mentally ill people, sat under the shade of a tree drinking and chatting happily. They finally talked things out. It's simple and not that complicated. Zhang Feng was originally a little beggar in Wufeng City. He was picked up by Uncle Zhang when he was 10 years old. In this way, after raising the child for 3 whole years, the two sides had established an emotional foundation, one called the child grandpa and the other called the child grandson. However, 3 years later, Uncle Zhang somehow established a relationship with the soul-breaking sect, and after several discussions, they decided to send him over. Originally, this was considered a good thing. After all, being able to enter the Taoist sect to practice was something that many people wished for, but Zhang Feng was unlucky. Because of his talent and background, he was accepted as an apprentice by the headmaster. What follows is even simpler. Zhang Feng became the only one who survived among the 83 people. It is better not to mention the torture he endured during that period. At least, It would make people so sick that they would not be able to eat for 3 days and 3 nights. At the same time, he also learned from the head of the sect the fundamental reason why he was chosen. To put it bluntly, Uncle Zhang didn't adopt him on a whim, but because all of Zhang Feng's blood relatives were killed by Uncle Zhang. He even threw the infant Zhang Feng into a beggar's den and ordered his men to take care of him. As long as he survived, he would be bullied madly. The more miserable he was, the better. At this point, an artificially created lone star of the heavenly fiend was born, which can be said to be an excellent material for practicing evil ways. Then, it was a very common-sense script. Zhang Feng was adopted at the age of 10, and then sold as material to make money at the age of 13. It's that simple. Moreover, Uncle Zhang has used this method several times, and Zhang Feng is not the first one. This also explains why Chou Bao is in Duanjia village. It is probably because of the benefit he got from the Duanyun sect in the past. In short, after learning the truth, Zhang Feng naturally collapsed and hated everyone in Duanjia village. The more he thought of the good memories from the past, the stronger his hatred became. Moreover, strong hatred can stimulate his special talent, which is why the leader constantly uses this matter to stimulate him, and it always works. Let me ask you, does Zhang Feng want revenge? Of course he does. Unfortunately, the leader does not allow it. He needs Duanjiakyun to continue working for him and continue to supply him with Lone Star of the Heavenly Fiend to continue to stimulate him. Therefore, Zhang Feng had no chance and no qualification to take revenge, and could only bury his hatred deep in his heart. However, not long ago, everything changed. News came that Duanjia village was attacked and Uncle Zhang died. When hearing the news, Zhang Feng fell into endless ecstasy, and his next thought was to investigate who his benefactor was. Soon, Wang Fa's name was known. After all, they had met and knew each other before. Therefore, when the spy told Zhang Feng that Wang Fa appeared in Lingyun sect, he immediately guessed what had happened. After some twists and turns, the two sides met, and needless to say what happened next. It is worth mentioning that Chubao was still present at that time. Although it was hiding in the dark, it must have seen Zhang Feng's crazy look. It's just that this guy wasn't very smart, or he simply didn't care, so he never mentioned this matter to Duan Ming. Even when he was just summoned, it was as if they were meeting for the first time, and he asked if we wanted to do it right away. It was really 2F***** head up. In short, Chubao is a scumbag and there is no way to cleanse him, of course. In addition to the stinky treasure, there is another scumbag, that is Wang Fa. This guy also took precautions because of his paranoia. After meeting Zhang Feng, he never mentioned Duan Ming's existence from beginning to end. He only stated that besides him, there were others who participated in the village destruction and killed Uncle Zhang personally. Originally, Wang Fa just wanted to protect Duan Ming and prevent Zhang Feng from blackmailing him, so he didn't reveal it. However, the outcome was that good intentions led to bad consequences. In short, in a sense, Duan Ming was tricked by Chou Bao and Wang Fa. Of the two guys, one is not very smart and the other is mentally ill, which is why Duan Ming got into trouble with the other mentally ill guy. Looking around, Duan Ming was speechless, lamenting that the people around him were all G sick. Chapter 70. What disease do you think he has? Strictly speaking, the disaster that befell Duanjia village had nothing to do with Duan Ming. After all, it was not he who planned the attack. But in a more strict sense, the destruction of Duanjia village might really be related to him. After all, the negative impact of corpse-born children is that wherever they go, tragedies will occur, causing countless deaths and injuries. What's more, it is undeniable that Uncle Zhang did die at the hands of Duan Ming, and this is irrefutable. Therefore, for Zhang Feng, Duan Ming is truly his benefactor. Mr. Duan, I was too reckless just now. I hope you can be magnanimous and don't take it to heart with me. At this moment, Zhang Feng's attitude was as obedient as a female anchor who had just been given hundreds of rockets by the top guy on the list, and she just did whatever she was told to do. Mr. Duan, can you tell me in detail how you killed him? What weapon did you use? Where did you chop him? How strong was the force? Did the other person scream? How to say it? Although Zhang Feng's attitude was very well behaved and respectful, and he was no longer as arrogant and overbearing as before, he was still talking about perverted topics. I always feel that he wants to understand it more clearly just to put himself in the situation, just like reading a novel, just for fun. Duan Ming didn't know how to respond to this. It was his first time to kill someone, and the whole process was a huge psychological burden for him, which was definitely not fun at all, so he had to change the subject and asked, "I'll tell you in detail later, but I have a few questions I want to ask you first. First, can the pill given to me before really restrain the corrupt heart pill? Second, how much do you know about Fang Wolf? Why did you say before that I wouldn't live long? Third, it can't be a coincidence that both you and Wang Fa appear here. What are you planning to do? Fourth, are you really unkillable? What is going on here?" Duan Ming asked a lot of questions, all of which were questions that had not yet been answered in his mind. It would be great if he could figure them all out. On the other side, Zhang Feng stopped playing dumb and started to explain patiently with a serious attitude. "The medicine must be fake. My master is guarding me like a thief, so it's impossible for him to give me the antidote. To be honest, that bottle of medicine was just an ordinary, one-day death pill, just a poison. We don't know much about the other wolf. We only know that he also likes to kill disciples. He has killed 57 disciples in total. Those of you who survived should all know him. And there is a characteristic of him when killing his disciples, that is, he will definitely teach the target to learn the two major skills, 9 Nether Corpse Refining Method, and Maggot and Fly Corpse Sea Sword. As far as I know, there are only 7 people who have not learned it. 2 of them were killed by the righteous way, and the other 5 are still alive. As for the fact that Wang Engong and I were here, it was something we had agreed on long ago. As for the purpose, well, I promised him that I would be a spy and assassinate the backbone of the soul-breaking sect to prepare for the upcoming war. This trip was also planned in advance, just to kill Li Bian. Finally, I am really immortal, but I am not completely invincible. If you smash me into a pulp, I will still die. In short, this is a curse that my master has placed on me, called the 10-Direction Demon. This curse is extremely special and cannot be borne by anyone other than the lone star of the Heavenly Fiend. The 83 people mentioned earlier all died because they could not bear the negative effects of the curse. Zhang Feng did not hide anything. He answered whatever was asked and confessed everything he knew honestly, with a very cooperative attitude. And after he finished speaking, he was like a little puppy, with stars in his eyes and an expression that said, "Are you satisfied, benefactor? Praise me now." This little puppy has an antisocial personality disorder, and his style is a little bit strange. It's like a certain killer team. Although they are ranked first in the world and have a 100% mission completion rate, the team name is as sweet as candy, and it always feels like it will choke you to death. Even Duan Ming, who had a big heart, couldn't stand this and quickly turned his head away, pretending he didn't see it. "If you want to detoxify, I can help you. Just follow me back to Lingyun sect." Seeing that the atmosphere was a little strange, Wang Fa, who had been silent all the time, spoke at the right time. It seemed that he was really confident that he could remove the effect of the heart corruption pill. However, he only said this to Duan Ming, and did not include Zhang Feng in it. He guessed that it was due to paranoia, so he was still on guard. Or maybe they simply feel that the other party is still useful and it is more worthwhile to stay than to go back. "Thanks, but I can't go." Duan Ming shook his head and refused. "I am a corpse-born child, and I am naturally incompatible with the righteous path. If I really go back with you, I will probably be killed before I am poisoned to death." "Mr. Duan, go ahead, it won't be a problem. He is." Before Wang Fa could continue to persuade him, Zhang Feng on the side could no longer sit still and joined in the persuasion. But before he could finish his words, he suddenly felt his arm tighten. He turned around and realized that it was Wang Fa who was pulling him. He shook his head slightly. Although he didn't understand why, Zhang Feng still kept his mouth shut. Then he heard Wang Fa slowly say, "In that case, I won't persuade you anymore. If you change your mind in the future, you can come to me at any time. I guarantee that your life will not be in danger." Wang Fa's behavior was very strange. He must have been sincere in inviting Duan Ming and it was not just a polite remark, but for some reason, he didn't insist. He just mentioned it and didn't say anything more. It always made people feel that there was some reason worth talking about. "Thank you. We'll talk about the future later." Duan Ming thanked him, then took out a stack of silver bills from his storage bag and shook it. "This is the reward you gave me before. Now that the mission is completed, shouldn't you give me the other part? And the cash here must have been hidden by you. I want to exchange some." They had almost finished talking about the serious matters, so it was time to talk about something less serious. Duan Ming immediately asked for payment, looking like he was desperate for money. It's a pity. After a while of hesitation, Wang Fa said awkwardly, throw it away. The banknotes are fake. I just wanted to trick you into helping me. That's why I resorted to this desperate measure. As for the cash, it has been transported back to the sect a long time ago. You are too late. Upon hearing this, Duan Ming was struck by lightning. He was so angry that he wanted to pin Wang Fa to the ground and beat him up immediately. Fortunately, Wang Fa was very sensible. When he saw something was wrong, he quickly took out his money bag and threw it over. Here, I don't have much money on me, so just consider it as interest. You're brave. Zhang Feng, let's go. If we go back too late, it might arouse the suspicion of the other two. After saying that, Duan Ming turned around and left. Let's meet again at the 3 o'clock town restaurant tonight. I'll be the one to kill Li Bian. Duan Ming didn't look back and walked away without hesitation. Obviously he was angry. However, Zhang Feng did not follow immediately, but turned to Wang Fa and asked, Mr. Wang, why didn't you continue to persuade him? The head of Lingyun sect is quite kind, and you are his disciple. It shouldn't be a problem to save Mr. Duan, right? Are you stupid? Can't you see that he has a mental illness? Is there any need to ask? Wang Fa glanced at him and said dissatisfiedly, he can't be persuaded. After all, mental illness is incurable. You and I both know this, right? Zhang Feng was stunned and asked in confusion, is he really sick? What's wrong with him? Why can't I see it? I'll give you a hint. You can guess for yourself. He particularly likes to provoke people and things that he cannot defeat, such as Fang Lang in the soul-breaking sect. Chapter 71. You're playing with self-destruction. It was the middle of the night, inside a restaurant. Duan Ming, Wang Fa, and Zhang Feng, 3 mentally ill people, were sitting on 2 corpses, whispering to each other. So, you guys are planning to kill Li Bian, who is at the 8th level of Qi refining, in this way. Just use the spiritual explosion talisman to blow up the entire town. At this moment, Duan Ming was very confused, with his mind full of question marks. He felt that his mother's mother was not his grandmother, and he was very confused. No, are you really planning to do this? Duan Ming's tone was very clear, there was almost a question mark on his face, and he was very confused. But Zhang Feng and Wang Fa, the 2 idiots, didn't realize anything was wrong at all and continued to echo each other. Yes, I emptied my family's savings to get a large number of spiritual explosion talismans. I believe that I can blow Li Bian into ashes. I think it's good. Anyway, this town is full of desperados. They have done a lot of immoral things over the years. They are not innocent when they die. That's right. Do you know Jojia village? Even the graves of the people's ancestors for 18 generations were dug up. Nothing was left. Besides, blowing this place up can also cut off their supply. Without the source of corpses, it will definitely cause heavy damage to the soul-breaking sect. Why not do it? The most important thing is to blow everything up. Then we won't be able to find out the truth. We can definitely do it without anyone noticing. Wang Fa and Zhang Feng became more and more excited as they talked, with the word, crazy, almost written on their faces. They were indeed mentally ill, without any fakery at all. However, Duan Ming looked at these 2 smart guys and couldn't help but cover his forehead and asked, blowing up a small town made such a big fuss, how can you think that no one will know about it? You 2 are really smart. As soon as the words fell, the 2 smart people were immediately unhappy and replied in unison, don't worry about these details, it's not a big problem, just do it. Hearing this, Duan Ming finally understood. It turned out that these 2 people were not stupid, they were just simply sick. Zhang Feng probably thought it would be more fun and cool to blow up the town, so he did it. Wang Fa was probably worried that there might be witnesses or that some clues might be left behind, so he planned to do this to be on the safe side. One has antisocial personality disorder and the other has paranoia. The 2 of them together are really amazing. They are definitely the enemy of the world. No, this will be too ostentatious and will definitely cause unnecessary trouble. I won't agree to it. Duan Ming completely disregarded the feelings of the 2 and rejected their request righteously. His compassionate look was truly an example of a saintly woman, unfortunately. Zhang Feng and Wang Fa looked at each other and shook their heads at the same time. I knew you would have a seizure. You insisted on making it more difficult, right? You think it's not challenging enough, right? What are you talking about? I just think this won't work. The plan is too crude. Duan Ming was confused and didn't understand what the 2 were saying, but considering that the other party was mentally ill, he was too lazy to continue asking and said, "Let me think about it. Let's come up with a foolproof plan and then take action." After saying that, he turned around and left without caring whether Zhang Feng and Wang Fa agreed or not. After returning to his guest room, he silently turned on the simulator. But as soon as he left, Zhang Feng and Wang Fa couldn't help but start muttering. "You're right, he is indeed sick. He just likes difficult challenges. He chooses to make tasks more difficult even if they can be completed easily. There is no hope for him. That's why I like to stay with him. I feel safer." How can this make us feel safe? He has taken the initiative to increase the difficulty, so how can we feel safe? The greater the difficulty, the more you think about it, and the more thorough your considerations are. So for a person with paranoia, it is most comfortable to stay with him. After all, everything has been taken into consideration, which gives you peace of mind. Hey Tilda, now that you mention it, I'm suddenly quite excited. It must be very exciting to be with him. He is floating between life and death, wandering in a state of madness. No matter how you think about it, it suits me very well. That's right, Duan Ming has become a pervert. Okay, then it's settled. No matter what solution he comes up with later, we will agree to it. Well, let's go die together. On the other side, Duan Ming, who knew nothing, was sitting on the ground and turned on the simulator. Current balance 237.4. Do you want to use the life simulator? Each use will cost 40 gold. After recharging the silver from Wang Fa, the balance is quite considerable and can be used for several simulations. He planned to try a few more times to see what the results would be on different timelines and which one was the best ending. In short, in his own opinion, this method is definitely the safest, most secure and lowest risk method. At the age of 16, you came to Hedai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. One day later, you posted explosive talismans all over the town, trying to blow up the entire town. 2 days later, you were posting talismans and happened to see Zhang Feng being harassed by a hooligan on the street. In anger, he detonated all the spiritual explosion talismans. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice, cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Just one word. Fast. Duan Ming hadn't even reacted yet, it was already over. For a moment, he was completely numb, his head was splitting, and he felt like my father's father was not my grandfather. What kind of teammates are your grandfathers? Playing self-destruction, Didera. Before this, he knew that his teammates were unreliable. After all, they were mentally ill patients with extremely unstable emotions. No matter what they did, it would not be surprising. But no one expected that Zhang Feng could be so crazy and explode without any scruples. It's just a tease, it won't cost you anything, is it that serious? The way this matter was done, was it to assassinate Li Bian or to attack his teammates? Oh my god, this guy is not an undercover agent, is he pretending to be me? After thinking it over, Duan Ming still found it hard to accept this ending, and he felt upset for a long time. However, at the same time, he was also glad that he had not agreed to their plan before, otherwise Acquired would have died. Simulation ends, you can keep one of the following. Point 1. The cultivation level at the age of 16.2. My experience of cultivation at the age of 16. Life experiences at the age of 3 or 16. There was no choice, no profit at all, and 40 taels of silver were just wasted. Choose one, whatever you want. Next time, you have to bring the spirit explosion talisman first. Don't let Zhang Feng get his hands on it. Otherwise, who knows what accidents will happen. After thinking for a while, Duan Ming opened the simulator again and decided to try a different method. Chapter 72. 1,000 swords piercing the heart. At the age of 16, you came to Hedai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. One day later, you obtained 44 spiritual explosion talismans from Zhang Feng. 2 days later, you went to the pawn shop to exchange the talisman for money. On the way, you saw Zhang Feng being harassed by a hooligan on the street. You decided to ignore it, pretending that you saw nothing, and walked away quickly. 3 days later, you are counting money when Li Bian suddenly appears. Without saying anything, he kills you with one blow. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice, cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Although it was a little better than before, It was still fast and a life was gone in a flash. Damn it, this guy dares to rob me. As the saying goes, people die for money and birds die for food. When Duan Ming saw that he was counting money but was shot dead by Li Bian, who suddenly appeared, his first reaction was that the other party wanted to kill him for money. But on second thought, something seemed wrong. Li Bian should be a man with plenty of money, and he was busy with business at that time and was too busy to spare any time. However, he suddenly appeared in front of Duan Ming, which showed that he was very targeted. Therefore, after thinking for a while, Duan Ming suddenly realized that the outcome of this death was most likely caused by his own mistakes. There must be something wrong with the source of the talismans, or there are too many of them, which aroused the other party's suspicion, so. Damn it, I was born to be poor, right? Duan Ming's face looked very ugly, and he felt sad that he had the chance to earn money but not the chance to spend it. Forget it, if I want to blame someone, I can only blame myself for being obsessed with money. I can't blame anyone else. As expected, money is the root of all evil. It's so scary. Simulation ends, you can keep one of the following. Point 1. The cultivation level at the age of 16.2. My experience of cultivation at the age of 16. Life experiences at the age of 3 or 16. Still no choice, still no benefit at all. Duan Ming randomly chose one, then learned his lesson and started the simulation again. This time, he had to restrain his greedy nature no matter what, and also control Zhang Feng and not let him do anything out of line. At the age of 16, you came to Hedai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. 1 day later, you obtained 44 spiritual explosion talismans from Zhang Feng. 2 days later, you went out to gather information and wanted to find out where the corpse was bought and sold. On the way, you happened to see a little hooligan teasing Zhang Feng on the street. You decided to ignore him, pretending that you saw nothing, and walked away quickly. 3 days later, you get news that the transaction location seems to be in a medical clinic in the east of the city. You pretend to buy medicinal herbs and go to investigate, but find nothing. 4 days later, a large number of corpses were transported into the town. You decided to follow them and eventually discovered that the transaction took place in a private school. Your whereabouts were exposed, and you were captured alive by Li Bian on the spot and placed under house arrest. 10 days later, you are finally released, but you learn that Wang Fa and Zhang Feng have died in battle, and you are also under suspicion and are about to be taken back to the sect for interrogation. 11 days later, you were escorted by Li Bian all the way, without any chance of escape, but you were stopped by an old man in green. You see a rain of swords all over the sky, and then you are pierced through the heart by thousands of swords and die. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice, cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Not bad. Although the result was tragic, the process was still okay. At least I got some information, which is much better than the previous 2 times. The old man in green is probably Wang Fa's master, the head of Lingyun sect, right? After seeing the result, Duan Ming guessed the old man's identity at the first time. After all, sword rains all over the sky, thousands of swords piercing the heart. This level of martial arts is definitely for the big guys. If nothing unexpected happened, the other party must have sensed Wang Fa's death through some means, so he came here in person to take revenge, and Duan Ming was just an unlucky guy who was implicated. In general, it's okay. At least we know the transaction location. We can try to work around this information. As he was talking, Duan Ming's eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had thought of a good idea, and he couldn't stop laughing. Simulation ends, you can keep one of the following. Point 1. The cultivation level at the age of 16.2. My experience of cultivation at the age of 16. Life experiences at the age of 3 or 16. Logically speaking, there is still nothing good to choose from. After all, there is no benefit at all. But this time Duan Ming hesitated, looking quite conflicted. He is wondering whether to choose option 3, life experience. The reason was simple, he just wanted to see what the leader of Lingyun sect looked like and how powerful the Rain of Swords was. He has been in the immortal cultivation world for a while, but he has never seen a technique with special effects, so he is quite curious. After hesitating for a while, I gritted my teeth and chose life experience. The next second, everything went dark. 10 seconds later, consciousness returned. Then, Duan Ming was seen rolling and crawling on the ground in pain, unable to even scream. It was unknown how long it had passed, but after the pain subsided, Duan Ming stopped struggling, but he still lay on the ground motionless, his eyes dull, as if he had lost his soul. Just like that, half an hour later, he suddenly woke up and sat up again. Damn it, I won't play around anymore. Covering his chest, Duan Ming was still terrified and sweating coldly. Just now, he experienced firsthand what it meant to be tortured to death, what it meant to have bones and flesh cut off, and what it meant to be stabbed to the core. The dense rain of swords was like an army of locusts, which could instantly turn people into powder. Although the whole process was extremely fast, one could still feel endless pain, as if at that moment, time had been deliberately slowed down 100 times. From the moment the blade touched the skin, time slowed down, and then it slowly penetrated the flesh bit by bit until it completely pierced through the heart. After experiencing the whole process, Duan Ming was in so much pain that he didn't have the strength to scream. He was completely exhausted and even full of despair about life. This is the most miserable death I have ever experienced, no doubt about it. I don't know what this move is called either. I hope Wang Fa can teach me after he learns it. As soon as he recovered, Duan Ming started to think about practicing martial arts, a typical example of someone who only remembers to eat and not to fight. But we can't blame him. After all, the special effects of this move are very cool and look very high-end, so it's inevitable that people will be tempted. It's a pity that he was born from a corpse. And definitely couldn't become a disciple of Lingyun sect. Otherwise, he might have a chance to go back with Wang Fa. Chapter 73, Breaking the Situation at the age of 16. You came to Hetai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. One day later, you obtained 44 spiritual explosion talismans from Zhang Feng. 2 days later, you disguised yourself using the art of disguise and then sneaked into the Kuli team. During this time, you happened to see a little hooligan teasing Zhang Feng in the street. Not only did you not help, you even clapped and cheered. 4 days later, a large number of corpses were transported into the town, and your Kuli team was temporarily recruited. After successfully sneaking into the transaction site, you saw Li Bian busy at work and confirmed your target. You take advantage of everyone's unpreparedness and quietly hide the spirit explosion talisman inside the corpse, waiting for the right moment to blow up the place. 7 days later, you made all the preparations and then detonated the talisman, but nothing happened. You rush to the scene in confusion, wanting to find out what happened, but you find that Li Bian has already captured Zhang Feng and Wang Fa alive, and is waiting for you. You tried to argue, but Li Bian took out the talisman. With the overwhelming evidence, you were killed with one palm strike. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation, died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice, cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Duan Ming was very confused and had no idea about the result of this simulation. He had no idea what went wrong, at least everything was going well until the explosion. Why were Zhang Feng and Wang Fa arrested? What did they do? Did I not hide well enough, or did Zhang Feng and Wang Fa give me away? Duan Ming didn't understand what was going on, so he read the simulation process carefully several times to confirm that there were no problems. At least, he should have hidden himself well, otherwise he would have been caught by Li Bian long ago. Therefore, the problem should lie with Zhang Feng and Wang Fa. There is no other possibility. I looked at the simulation process again carefully. In general, Wang Fa did not appear throughout the whole process until the last moment. The only time Zhang Feng appeared was when he was molested in the street. Nothing else happened and there was nothing suspicious about it. The more he thought about it, the weirder it seemed. Duan Ming frowned and suddenly said, "It can't be that the plan was exposed because of the teasing, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, he was stunned and a classic quote from Sherlock Holmes suddenly flashed through his mind. After eliminating all impossibilities, the only remaining explanation, no matter how incredible it is the truth of the matter. Is it really because of teasing? Isn't that a bit far-fetched? To be honest, Duan Ming himself found it hard to believe this point of view. It felt like smoking in reverse and burning his mouth. It was hard to accept. But the more Duan Ming thought about it, the more he felt that this was the only possibility and there was no other. Otherwise, why would the system let him encounter this every time? Could it be that he was just bored? After thinking for a while, he was too lazy to worry about it anymore and started the simulation again to give it a try. At the age of 16, you came to Hetai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. 1 day later, you obtained 44 spiritual explosion talismans from Zhang Feng. 2 days later, you were waiting at the street corner early in the morning. When you saw the hooligan, you immediately rushed over and teased him severely, causing him to run away in shame. 3 days later, you received a love letter. The little gangster invited you to his private school for a chat. You decided to sacrifice yourself for justice and went there resolutely. You arrive at the private school as scheduled to meet the little gangster. During the meeting, you learn that he is the manager of this place, responsible for connecting with the tomb-robbing organizations in the mortal world. You come up with a plan and decide to use the power of love to get the little gangster to help you kill Li Bian. You give all the talismans to the little gangster, and promise that after the task is completed, you are willing to run away with him, live together in a tree, and live a shameless and happy life from then on. 4 days later, Li Bian came to your house and beat you to death without any explanation. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice. Cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. FK, you even betrayed love, how shameless. Duan Ming was furious. He finally mustered up the courage to sacrifice his life for justice, but in the end he was dumped. Bah, no, I got fooled. It's true, men are all pigs and can't be trusted. But even though he cursed, he finally figured out the mystery. The previous accident was indeed caused by the little hooligan, that was absolutely true. Although it is a bit outrageous, this is the truth of the matter. After this simulation, Duan Ming did not rush to try again. Instead, he began to think about how to use the information he already knew to achieve his goal. In his opinion, there are 3 key factors to the success or failure of this assassination. First, the little gangster's status as a manager can be fully utilized. Second, the body will be brought into the city 4 days later, during which time we can do whatever we want. Thirdly, Zhang Feng and Wang Fa must not get sick and cause trouble. After thinking it over, Duan Ming suddenly came up with an idea and felt that it had great potential. At the age of 16, you came to Hedai town and conspired with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to assassinate Li Bian. 1 day later, you obtained 44 spiritual explosion talismans from Zhang Feng. 2 days later, you flirted with a hooligan in the street, causing him to flee in shame. Halfway through, in an empty alley, he was captured alive by Wang Fa and Zhang Feng. You, Wang Fa, and Zhang Feng, the 3 of you threatened him repeatedly and successfully forced him to extract information. You used the art of disguise to disguise yourself as a gangster and successfully entered the private school, pretending to be the manager. 4 days later, a large number of corpses arrived in the city. You took this opportunity to stuff the talisman into the bodies and gave it to Li Bian. That night, you detonated the talisman and successfully blew up the private school. You rushed to the scene with Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to check the situation. You discover that Li Bian is seriously injured, but not dead, so the 3 of them joined forces to start a war. You successfully killed Li Bian at the last moment, but you were also severely injured by him, and both of you died. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice. Cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Yes, after the simulation ended, Duan Ming couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Finally, before the money was used up, I found a way out of the dilemma. Although it was not perfect, it was feasible. If you want to kill someone, then you must be prepared to be killed. It's just a matter of dying together. It's not a big deal. In terms of mentality, Duan Ming has always been in a good state and has almost never been depressed. Even though he knew that this method would most likely result in his death, for some reason he just wanted to do it, and was very stubborn. But on second thought, I can understand his thoughts and actions. After all, Li Bian is an 8th level chi refining master. Even if he is seriously injured, he is not someone that the 3 of them can easily deal with. If you want to kill an enemy of a higher level, there is no reason not to take risks. If you dare not face any risks, then naturally you will not be able to accomplish anything and will only live a mediocre life. Without any hesitation, Duan Ming stood up and walked outside, ready to find Wang Fa and Zhang Feng to explain the plan. Chapter 74: The domineering CEO falls in love with me. 2 days later. The market in the small town of Hetai is bustling with people coming and going. Moreover, the goods here are extremely abundant, ranging from fresh products from the ocean to rare treasures from the mountains. The country is prosperous and the people are well off. It is a peaceful prosperous scene, very lively, of course. If we can ignore the source of this place's wealth, then it is undoubtedly a peaceful and prosperous era. What's wrong with the dead's wealth? What's wrong with lacking good deeds? If you don't have a ruthless heart, you are still a worthless person, a waste. Li Yihang spoke in a very loud voice, without any regard for the place, and loudly scolded his subordinates who were traveling with him. Yes, yes, Your Excellency is right. However, the commotion this time is a bit too loud. I'm afraid the surrounding towns will come to cause trouble. What's there to be afraid of? I'll kill them all and fill the gap in the supply. Li Yihang showed disdain. The immortals of the Broken Soul sector here, who dares to act rashly? Do you think your life is too long? After saying that, Li Yihang seemed to be unsatisfied and cursed again. A large batch of cargo will be coming in a few days. We must not make any mistakes. As long as we serve the immortal well, we will get whatever he wants. In short, keep a close eye on it and don't let the rubbish from the surrounding towns cause trouble. Yes, sir. All the subordinates shouted in unison. The group of people talked as they walked, parading through the streets. It was obvious that they had a high status in this town and no one dared to mess with them. However, perhaps because he did not check the almanac before going out today, as he was walking, Li Yihang was suddenly stopped by a strange boy and his way was blocked. Who are you? How dare you block the road? Are you looking for death? Get out of the way. A good dog doesn't block the road. If you don't leave, don't blame us for being rude. Young man, hurry up and leave, or the consequences will be something you can't afford. Before Li Yihang even said a word, his loyal lackeys started barking, very protective of their master. I guess they feed him often. However, the newcomer did not give way, and did not even glance at the roars of the lackeys. He stared at Li Yihang with greed in his eyes. This, feeling the burning gaze, Li Yihang was instantly frightened by the strong possessive desire. His old face suddenly turned red and he even felt a little embarrassed. Are you deaf? Can't you hear me? Get out of here now. The dogs were still barking, but Li Yihang, the owner, suddenly changed his behavior and kicked the barking, loyal dogs, away. Get out of here. Don't scare them. Brother, what advice do you have for me? Why are you stopping me? After dealing with the lackey, Li Yihang turned around and whispered to the man in what he thought was a gentle tone. However, the man blocking the road remained silent, just staring at Li Yihang, the heat in his eyes almost melting him. In just that instant, the scene became strange, and everyone could feel a hint of something unusual. Fortunately, this atmosphere did not last long. The man who was blocking the road suddenly grabbed Li Yihang's arm and said in a very domineering and low voice, "Man, you are playing with fire." This simple sentence contains endless tyranny. It was just a simple sentence, although it had no beginning or end and made people confused, but it was enough to make Li Yihang's heart flutter. With just one simple sentence, Li Yihang, a resident of another world, experienced for himself what it meant for a domineering CEO to fall in love with me. At that moment, he felt that his soul had been conquered and he had lost all resistance. Walk. The man who was blocking the road didn't say a word and pulled Li Yihang out of the crowd. The latter's head was still burning with anxiety at the moment, and he was unable to react, so he just let himself be manipulated. Until, that group of ignorant dogs surrounded them again and shouted loudly. Hurry, please let go, this. Him, you come to ask, I don't know how to deal with this kind of thing. Hey, boss, if you've been kidnapped, just blink. Damn it, you don't have to stare so wide-eyed. Li Yihang was helpless when faced with those dogs who had no sense of humor. Although he didn't know where the man was taking him or what he was going to do, he didn't know why he was willing to go with him. Perhaps this feeling was called love at first sight. Just like that, the infatuated Li Yihang was taken away in public without any resistance. When they were about to get away from the crowd, he asked slowly with a slightly shy, nervous, and expectant tone, "Where are we going?" "A place where I won't be disturbed." The man didn't even turn his head, his voice still as magnetic as before. However, Li Yihang froze instantly as if he was hit by a bullet, with a lot of thoughts in his mind. But, isn't it too fast? I don't even know your name. How about we just date first? Before Li Yihang could finish his words, the overbearing man interrupted him. Stop talking nonsense, I'll make the decision. A sweet, oh so sweet, warm feeling suddenly rose in Li Yihang's heart, and he felt an unreal feeling as if his dream had come true. He has been a man of long standing for many years, and he was a little bottom, and he had several lovers. However, due to his status and position, no one had ever been overbearing to him, and he was never able to enjoy himself. Now, being treated roughly by a strange man who suddenly appeared made him feel as if he had reached the peak of his life and was in ecstasy. The feeling is like Shuangwaiwai comes home from school, and his mother opens the door for him, and he is so happy. In this way, the two of them came to an empty alley. Ah, right here, isn't that inappropriate? Looking at the dirty and messy environment around him, Li Yihang became a little worried, but for some reason, he also felt a little excited, as if it was quite fresh. Bang! Without a word, the strange man slapped Li Yihang in the face, knocking him to the ground. It hurts. Li Yihang covered his face with his hands, his eyes full of grievance. You like this tune? I can accept it. Hearing this, the strange man couldn't help but take a breath, as if his patience had reached its limit. You two should deal with it quickly, I can't stand it anymore, I really want to vomit. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Fa and Zhang Feng came out from the corner, with smirks on their faces, looking like they were enjoying a good show. Unfortunately, their smiles froze in the next second and could never be resolved. 3 people, isn't this a bit too much? Li Yihang was horrified. But, if you insist, I can accept it. This time, Duan Ming finally couldn't bear it anymore and kicked him. You be asterisk 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 D, are you trying to disgust me on purpose? You are so bad. That's right, the man who blocked Li Yihang's way and brought him here was Duan Ming. In short, he made great sacrifices and broke through the limits of endurance that ordinary people could hardly break through, and only then did he successfully complete the task. No matter what, we have to admit that a guy who can do this like him will definitely achieve great things in the future and is definitely not an ordinary person. Chapter 75. Poetry School. 4 days later, the poetry was hidden in the private school. As the school bell rang, Li Yihang opened the gate of the academy, sat on the steps, and silently watched the children happily trot home and then disperse. You are so innocent and naive at this age. It's a pity that you were born as a mortal in the world of cultivation. You will suffer a lot in the future. Looking at the children playing and laughing, and glancing at the sunset, Li Yihang suddenly turned around and instructed his subordinates beside him, remember, you must transport all the goods tonight. Don't slack off. If you delay the immortal's business, you, me and him will all be buried with him. Understand? Yes, sir. The servants who had been cleaning the yard lazily and slowly just now suddenly became energetic, bowed respectfully, and then left quickly. However, as the servants left one by one, there was always a young man who did not leave. Instead, he walked forward and came to Li Yihang. Uncle, don't you feel tired wearing a mask every day? Don't you feel hypocritical and ashamed? I can't hold on any longer. The young man had a blank expression on his face, but there was nothing calm beneath his calm exterior. Uncle, thank you for your care all the time. Although the treatment here is very good, it is really not suitable for me. I really can't stand being one way outside and another inside, so. Before he finished speaking, Li Yihang asked, so you want to leave? Are you sure you've made up your mind? The young man nodded and said loudly, I, Li Shimin, just want to live a more open life. Even if I am poorer and suffer more, I will accept my fate. After that, Li Shimin stepped out of the academy gate, knelt down and kowtowed 3 times, anyway, I still want to thank you for taking care of me over the years. You have no children and I have no father, so I am unfilial and have failed you. Li Yihang was still sitting there, without getting up, and remained silent for a long time. No problem, do what you want to do, leave when you want to leave. After all, there is not much freedom in this world, and there are not many things that can be done as you please. But I have to tell you, the reason why people are hypocritical is simply because the real self is uglier and needs to be covered up. Well, before you become more worldly, leaving me is also a good choice, but the road ahead will be difficult. Uncle, Li Yihang waved his hand, no need to say more, let's go, and don't come back. After saying this, he stood up, walked into the academy, and closed the door, leaving only Li Shimin still kneeling in front of the door. Late at night, there was an endless line of horse-drawn carriages stretching from outside the city all the way to the Zhengxi private school. The scene was quite spectacular, but the local residents were unusually cooperative. Every household stayed indoors and no one came out to watch the fun. It was as quiet as a dead city. Hurry up and move all the goods underground. Be quick and efficient. Hey, who is responsible for this batch of goods? Why is there no preservative powder? Be smart, put them in categories, men here, women there. Inside and outside the Zhengxi private school, there was a bustling atmosphere, and everyone was busy, but everyone had a sincere smile on their face. If for no other reason, simply because such a large quantity of goods can allow them to make a fortune and live a comfortable and relaxed life for a long time. Li Yihang stood at the gate, carefully checking each batch of goods. His attitude was quite serious and responsible, and he basically had to open the coffins for inspection. "Sir, let us handle this little thing. It will be troublesome if the corpse poison is contaminated." Seeing this, a lackey started to flatter the master in a very timely manner. His smile was very dog-licking, and his face was twisted into a ball, just like a daisy. "It's a small matter." Li Yihang frowned. "The immortal has told me many times, but you said it's a small matter. What's wrong? Are you tired of living?" Hearing this, the lackey could only smile awkwardly and nodded quickly. Yes, I was wrong, please don't be offended, sir, and don't be angry." It seemed that he was too lazy to argue with a lackey, or he was simply too busy. After scolding the other party, Li Yihang ignored him and went on with his own business, but the lackey couldn't help but grumble, and walked aside to complain to his friends. "What's wrong with Manager Li today? He is usually so responsible. Why is he acting abnormally today? People have mouths so that you can say the right things, not words that will get you killed. If you really don't know how to say it, you can just shut up. You can say whatever you want to say, but don't come to talk to me. You're like an idiot. You even dare to talk about Manager Li. You don't even know how to write the word death. People die of stupidity, like you. How dare you say such a thing, idiot? How about you go in and lie down for a while to replenish the supply? Hey, why are you talking like that? Can't you just shut up?" Maybe there were too many dumb people in the yard, and the lackey couldn't muster any strength. After being reminded by his companions, he immediately stopped talking and focused on his work. In this way, with everyone working together, one piece of goods after another was carried into the private school and carried to the basement. However, not long after, someone came to disturb Li Yihang, who was busy running around, and said with a bow, "Sir, these goods are a bit special, you may need to deliver them personally, I wonder." This person is a dark-skinned man who is often exposed to the wind and sun. Judging from his physique, he is indeed strong. What stuff? Li Yihang just took a glance and went straight to the point without any unnecessary nonsense. He obviously didn't want to communicate too much. If my investigation is correct, he should be a cultivator. Before he could finish his words, Li Yihang immediately turned around and made a shushing gesture. "Let me take a look. Please follow me, sir." The sturdy man led Li Yihang all the way to the 3 coffins, pried them open, and made a gesture of invitation. Li Yihang took the opportunity to take a look inside. His pupils suddenly shrank and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Fortunately, he had his back to the sturdy man, so the other party did not notice. "You have confirmed that the investigation is complete, right? If it is true, you will definitely get some benefits." Hearing this, the sturdy man nodded quickly and said, "It's definitely correct. My group of people took a lot of effort to dig them out from Duanjia village. 2 of them were headless. It took us a long time to find them all." Li Yihang nodded, and then instructed his subordinates, "Come here, carry these 3 into my yard first. After the work is done, I will personally hand them over to the immortal." After saying that, Li Yihang patted the sturdy man on the shoulder to show encouragement, which made the other party very excited all of a sudden. It seemed that he had seen the white silver and was very excited. In this way, the transportation continued until late at night. By the time it was over, the private school that had been bustling with activity just a moment ago had returned to a quiet and elegant atmosphere. I believe that studying here would surely keep people awake at night and their grades would soar. Chapter 76, Crazy Zhong. It was late at night and it was pitch black. Li Yihang walked stealthily toward the outside of the private school of Tibetan poetry and came to a small bush. "Why don't you come out? Where are you?" After saying that, 2 dark shadows suddenly walked out from the bushes. With the faint moonlight, it was barely possible to make out that they were Wang Fa and Zhang Feng. "Done?" they asked in unison. Li Yihang nodded, and at the same time stretched out his hands to tear his face. After a busy period, his true face was finally revealed, and it was Duan Ming. All 44 explosive talismans have been stuffed into the body. If nothing unexpected happens, they will definitely blow Li Bian up. Hearing this, Zhang Feng was very excited and replied excitedly, "That's good, I'll detonate it right away." "Wait a minute," Duan Ming hurriedly stopped him, "we need to prepare some other things to ensure that everything goes well." After saying that, he waved his hand, and 3 corpses flew out of the storage bag and slowly landed at his feet. Hiss! When everyone saw the face of the corpse clearly, the air froze in an instant and the atmosphere became extremely depressing. Duan Ming asked uncertainly. Well, you guys don't have the hobby of whipping corpses, right? You can have this. Zhang Feng and Wang Fa spoke almost at the same time and said the same words, their eyes fixed on one of the male corpses. Grandpa Zhang, wake up, look at me now, I haven't let you down, have I? Wang Fa was okay and could barely control himself, but Zhang Feng couldn't hold it in at all. He smiled a smile brighter than anyone else, squatted happily beside the corpse, patted the other's cheek and said some irrelevant words. Why are you sleeping so soundly? Get up, let's play together and tell me a story like we did when we were little. Get up quickly, and let me tell you a story. How about, my 10,000 ways of dying? I'm not kidding, it's really fun. Beheading, slow slicing, beheading, heart drilling, lung digging, none of them could kill me. Am I really good and have lived up to your expectations? You once said that only by having experiences can one look lightly at life and death and achieve great things. You are lying, that's not the case at all. Otherwise, why would I want to end my life every day after having experienced life and death? How can I be calm about it? Zhang Feng became more and more excited as he spoke, and it was obvious that something was wrong with his mood. It was obvious that he was on the verge of collapse. Seeing this situation, Duan Ming did not have any intention of comforting or persuading. He just watched quietly from the side without saying anything. He knew that it was better to let go than to block. Instead of persuading Zhang Feng to be more open-minded and believe that everything would be fine in the future, it would be better to let him vent and do whatever he wanted. In other words, he brought the corpse here with the intention of letting Zhang Feng vent his anger. After waiting for a while, seeing that it was getting late, Duan Ming stepped forward, patted Zhang Feng on the shoulder, and said slowly, he's given to you, you can do whatever you want with him. If you still feel unsatisfied, try looking for his soul later, and you might find an unexpected surprise. If that doesn't work, then find a way to become stronger, and then go to the underworld to find out where he was reincarnated. In short, there are many ways to take revenge, so don't be impatient. After all, where there is a will, there is a way. But now, we have business to attend to. Can you continue? Hearing this, Zhang Feng's expression kept changing, and finally he turned into a sunny boy, smiling extremely brightly. That makes sense. The soul-breaking sect has a technique for searching souls. I'll go and try it later, and I'll make sure he doesn't die in peace. Seeing that Zhang Feng's mood had improved, Duan Ming said, wait for me. I'll put makeup on the other two bodies and then detonate them. Another disguise. Wang Fa looked at the other two corpses with a puzzled look. Is this necessary? Wouldn't it be better to just blow Li Bian to death? Duan Ming didn't even turn his head to answer this question. He said calmly, what if he didn't die from the explosion? Should we still consider this situation? Listening to your words is better than reading for 10 years. Wang Fa likes to think out plans carefully. For him, that is enjoyment. Therefore, when he suddenly heard Duan Ming was still planning a backup plan, he instantly became satisfied and nodded frequently. Then I will help too. Who do you want to draw as? One is drawn to look like me, and the other, of course, is drawn to look like the person Li Bian fears the most. Half an hour later. The quiet town of Hetai has reached a turning point in its history. With a loud bang that resounded through the sky, the Tibetan Poetry Private School instantly turned into a sea of fire, illuminating the sky with a bright red glow. All the residents living in the town were awakened and either opened their doors and windows or ran to the streets and looked up. However, no one shouted to put out the fire, and no one even thought of checking the situation. Instead, they packed their luggage and ran out of the town in unison. Dad, Mom, I'm scared. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Such a big commotion must be a fight between immortals. We can just flee outside the town. They won't care about us mortals. Hurry up, help me pack my luggage. If you run too slowly, others will be affected. Fight. Dad, Mom, I want to see immortals fighting, it must be very cool. You don't have the chance to see this. As a mortal, you must have the awareness of a mortal. Not to mention that you won't be affected, even if you survive by chance, you will be silenced. Be good, we won't make trouble. We have been doing business for so many years, and your father knows what we should and shouldn't see. Let's run. Immortal, you are so majestic. I also want to cultivate immortality. Impressive, maybe, but the more imposing a person is, the more miserable his death is. It's actually pretty good to be immortal. The above conversation happens in almost every family. It has to be admitted that the residents of Hetai town have a clear understanding and know where they are in the food chain. When gods fight, mortals suffer, but as long as you run fast enough, no god will be so idle as to cause trouble for ants. On the other side, not far from the private school, Fang Lang silently watched everything in front of him, his expression as cold as a piece of ice. He walked slowly into the fire, and the raging flames gradually died down, leaving a passage. When he came to the collapsed basement, he stopped and suddenly said softly, "Why are you hiding? Come out to me." The next second, the seriously injured Li Bian slowly crawled out from the rubble with a look of resentment on his face. His already incomplete body became even more incomplete. One arm was missing, one eye was gone, and even his face was disfigured by the explosion. It was quite horrific. "Master, why are you here?" Fang Lang's expression remained calm, but anyone could see that he was definitely in a bad mood at the moment. "Is this what you should be asking? Is the cargo safe?" As he spoke, Fang Lang walked towards Li Bian, with an attitude as if he was going to bring him to justice, without any regard for the friendship between master and disciple. As for Li Bian, he had a look of resignation and said nothing, as if he was waiting for the judgment of fate, just like Lin Yuqing at the beginning. Chapter 77 The Essence of Swordsmanship. Evil disciple, do you admit your guilt? Fang Lang walked slowly towards Li Bian, his expression furious. "How can I explain to the headmaster for losing such a large amount of goods? Master, there must be something fishy about this matter. Please give me a chance to investigate it thoroughly." Seemingly unwilling to give in, Li Bian mustered up his courage and transmitted his message in an extremely aggrieved voice. Unfortunately, Fang Lang seemed to be very angry and had no intention of forgiving him. What good would it do to find out the truth? Can the lost goods be recovered? When the two sides were only a few steps away from each other, Fang Lang slowly raised his hand and forced the true qi to the center of his palm, as if he was going to smash Li Bian's head in the next second. However, at this moment, Li Bian, who had just been compromising, suddenly changed his expression, and his face showed his ferocious nature. At the same time, he was heard to say in an extremely violent voice, "The goods may not be recovered, but you have to take full responsibility, am I right, Brother Duan?" In an instant, the two palms collided, and after a loud bang, the master Fang Lang flew backwards and fell flat on his face. "Ahem, third uncle, how come you guessed it right?" Fang Lang got up. "Oh, no, to be more precise, it was Duan Ming, who was pretending to be Fang Lang, who slowly got up, spat out a mouthful of blood, and laughed excitedly. Although I don't know how you noticed it, but you, who are at the 8th stage of qi refining, didn't even kill me, who are at the 4th stage of qi refining, with one palm strike. This shows that you won't live long." Li Bian turned a deaf ear to Duan Ming's words and instead pressed him, "Humph. Junior brother Duan, why did you kill your fellow disciples? Who instructed you to do that?" "Of course I am following the order of my master, otherwise I would not have the courage to attack you." This was the first time Duan Ming told the truth, but unfortunately, no one believed the truth. At least Li Bian didn't believe it, and he was extremely disdainful of it. "Although master is strict with me, he has always been concerned about me. Even if I have to make up an excuse, I have to make it better." Duan Ming was stunned. He had never expected that Li Bian would say such a thing. He suddenly felt unreal as if he was in a dream. "Is this why I was exposed? Because Fang Lang is really good to you? Are you sure?" Still couldn't believe it. In Duan Ming's opinion, Fang Lang was just a bad old man who did all kinds of evil things. Unexpectedly, he was actually another actor at the emperor level. Look at how Li Bian was deceived. He actually believed in someone who was plotting against him behind his back. If it was really the master who came, his first words would not be to blame me, but to show concern for my injuries. Therefore, you have already been exposed as soon as you opened your mouth. Li Bian spoke with certainty and looked extremely confident. He didn't know what means Fang Lang had used to deceive him so badly. "Okay, there's no point in talking anymore. It seems, this world doesn't allow people to speak the truth. We still have to use our fists to solve problems." Seeing this situation, Duan Ming knew that there was no point in saying more. He tore off the disguise mask, took out the sword, and his eyes suddenly turned blood red. He used a killing move right from the start, directly using the maggot, fly, corpse sea sword. Instantly the stench filled the air, mixed with the smell of long burned corpses, and it was even more powerful than when he was crazy about the enemy before. Obviously, this move is very suitable for use on the battlefield. The more deaths, the greater the lethality. It was at this moment that Duan Ming finally understood the true meaning of this sword technique. The so-called maggots and flies refer to the foul-smelling wind that corrodes everything, and the sea of corpses refers to the environment suitable for using this sword technique. Only when the two are superimposed on each other can the true power of the sword technique be revealed. Unfortunately, Duan Ming has no time to think carefully at this moment and has to focus all his attention on fighting the enemy. The next second, with the help of the sea of corpses, the foul-smelling wind whipped up a raging flame, which instantly changed from fiery red to a dark tone. It looked like a bonfire in the underworld, chilling and eerie. Immediately afterwards, a dark and foul-smelling wind, like an evil dragon, rushed straight towards Li Bian, vowing to devour him. Call. Like the god of death's scythe, it was precise and instantly covered Li Bian's entire body, and continued to bombard him nearly 7 or 8 meters behind him. Its power was so great that it directly destroyed the soil, scraped out a gully nearly 1.5 meters wide, and emitted a strong fishy smell. Just like nuclear radiation, just smelling, sticking to, or being contaminated by this fishy odor can make people suffer excruciating pain and corrode to death. However, even though he had caused such heavy casualties, Duan Ming did not relax at all. He still treated himself as if facing a formidable enemy, and his nerves were as tense as a steel wire that was about to break. The reason was simple, simply because Li Bian blocked it. Just when he was about to be hit, a wall of earth suddenly formed around him, wrapping him tightly and making it airtight. There is also a faint layer of true qi covering the outer edge of the earth wall, which obviously has excellent defensive capabilities. When the attack was over, the earth wall gradually collapsed under the power of the foul wind, and Li Bian reappeared, and it was obvious that he had not suffered any damage. Master Duan, what a great move. I almost fell for you. I didn't expect you to even learn the maggot fly corpse sea sword. How enviable. Although he spoke sarcastically, Li Bian used a lowly voice and his expression did not reveal his joy or anger at all. Thank you for the compliment, third master. Unfortunately, I failed to kill you in one go. It really can't be considered a brilliant move. I don't know what method third master used. I am not very experienced and this is the first time I have encountered it. Unlike Li Bian, Duan Ming's expression was very rich and his smile was so sweet. He didn't look like he was here to kill anyone, but rather like he was here to pay New Year's greetings. However, he did not really expect Li Bian to answer. After all, the stupidity of revealing martial arts to the enemy only happened in anime. After that, Duan Ming swung his sword once more and threatened, "Third master, take my sword again." This move is called Secret of the Dugu 9 Swords, myriad swords return to the sect. You better be careful. After saying that, Duan Ming waved his hand and struck an extremely showy pose, which looked very cool, as if he could destroy all the gods and Buddhas in the sky with one move. Originally Li Bian was a little confused. After all, he had never heard of this kind of sword technique and didn't know how powerful it was. However, when he saw Duan Ming's extremely cautious expression, he couldn't help but become nervous. The next second, Duan Ming suddenly yelled, "King Li, you idiot, look at my sword," and then a pair of smelly shoes flew out. For a moment, Li Bian was stunned and his brain didn't react. Of course, this can't be blamed on him. After all, after so many years of fighting on the battlefield, who has ever seen such a shameless opponent? Who could have expected that the other party would play so unconventionally? However, just as Li Bian was stunned, a pair of hands suddenly stretched out from under his feet, grabbed his heels and pulled him down hard. At the same time, two dark shadows emerged from behind him, one on the left and one on the right, and attacked him from both sides. Chapter 78, Death of Zhang Feng. The battle continues. At this moment, Li Bian was in danger. Duan Ming was playing tricks in front of him, a dark shadow was attacking from behind, and someone was stealing his balls below. It has to be said that under the attack from 3 sides, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, and he was a little overwhelmed. However, Qi refining 8th stage is no joke. Even a Qi refining 8th stage who is seriously injured is still not something that ordinary cultivators can deal with. In an instant, Li Bian slammed the ground with one arm, and suddenly a blue light appeared, forming a magic circle pattern with unknown meaning. The magic circle is circular in shape, but the circle is filled with various symbols, which seem to be advanced functions and are puzzling. Immediately afterwards, everyone in the audience felt a violent tremor, and the earth roared. Bang! Accompanied by loud explosions one after another, countless cracks appeared on the ground and it collapsed in an instant. Oh, no! To be more precise, it should be exploded. In an instant, the whole place was filled with flying sand and rocks, and mud, stones, and body parts were scattered everywhere, like the crackling of a shotgun. It was precisely because of this indiscriminate attack that Duan Ming in front and the two black shadows behind were instantly knocked away, and they gritted their teeth to avoid spitting blood, but their bodies were already in tatters. Some had their arms pierced, some had their thighs pierced, and some even had a small hole in their chests. If he had not been a cultivator with excellent physical fitness, he would have collapsed to the ground and become dead by now. However, they are not the worst. The guy who actually suffered the blow head-on was the one who was unlucky. He was the one who was lurking underground and grabbed Li Bian's heel. With the power of this one move, the earth cracked. How could the people lurking below be any better off? At least that's what Li Bian thought. In his opinion, the people lying in ambush below were bound to die, so he didn't bother to pay attention to them. Unfortunately, he didn't expect that the person who attacked him was not a living person. Bang! The attacker, who should have been killed by the collapse, suddenly rushed out of the ground and attacked again with an indomitable attitude. This time it used a fist, which was plain and simple yet extremely heavy. It hit Li Bian's jaw directly and knocked him away with a bang. If Li Bian didn't have a mouth, this blow would definitely break all his teeth. Stinky treasure, can you hold on? Seeing Chubao rushing out from underground with flesh all over his body, and even his bones exposed in serious condition, Duan Ming couldn't help but ask anxiously. Regarding this, Chubao didn't care at all. Yes, you dare to save Wanla. As expected, zombies also have their advantages. At least they don't feel pain and don't worry about injuries. As long as they are not crushed into meat paste, they can keep fighting. Ahem, junior brother Duan, you really didn't choose the right sect. The evil methods are endless and they can do anything. They are really despicable. Having suffered a head-on punch, Li Bian, who was already seriously injured, felt uncomfortable at the moment. However, compared with the injuries on his body, he was more concerned about the means of attack just now. Having lived for most of his life, Li Bian has seen a lot of evil things. He thinks he has been through enough ups and downs and has seen everything he should have seen, but he never imagined that there would be such a weird creature as Duan Ming. It was really, even the cult would find it shameful. However, Duan Ming was not ashamed, but proud. He wiped the blood off his face and responded with a smile. When it comes to fighting, you use whatever you have. Why bother about whether the means are despicable or not? After all, the winner is the king and the loser eats dust. What's more, third uncle is a chi refining 8th dan, how can he win without some tricks? Li Bian's sarcasm naturally could not irritate Duan Ming. Compared with Han Lao Mo and Ji Yu Fang Yuan, this little trick was not even a side dish. Since you are starting out as a mortal with low cultivation aptitude, you must be prepared to climb thorns and get your hands stained with blood. Stop talking nonsense, get him. Just as Duan Ming and Li Bian were talking, one of the black shadows, Zhang Feng, took the lead and rushed forward. In fact, both Duan Ming and Li Bian were taking a break during the conversation. After all, one of them was not strong enough and the other was seriously injured, so neither of them dared to act rashly. The good thing is that Duan Ming has teammates, while Li Bian is alone, so he has no chance to rest at all. Zhang Feng, you actually participated in it too. After seeing the attacker's face clearly, Li Bian was horrified. At first he would never believe that Fang Lang wanted to kill him. But when Zhang Feng, the sect leader's disciple, also appeared here, his thoughts wavered. For a moment, he was a little distracted and allowed Zhang Feng to approach him. Bang! Although he was dazed, a cultivator at the 8th stage of chi refining would never be easily ambushed. Just as he came to his senses, he stomped his leg on the ground, and instantly a rock pillar as thick as an arm but extremely sharp emerged from the mud and pierced through Zhang Feng, nailing him to death. FK, that hurts. The rock pillar was very long, almost 3 meters high, and Zhang Feng, who was nailed on it, was equivalent to hanging in midair. Moreover, the wound was extremely shocking, going all the way from his stomach to his back. It was clearly a fatal wound and he would definitely not survive. However, faced with such a fatal injury, Zhang Feng merely expressed pain, nothing more. He was seen struggling frantically in midair, supporting himself on the rock pillar with both hands, moving backwards continuously, apparently trying to pull himself out. And because the movement was so large, blood mixed with some pieces of flesh fell to the ground with a loud noise. Look at what you've done. Your intestines are falling out. Wait, I'm going to strangle you with it. Duan Ming, Wang Fa, Chou Bao, and even Li Bian were all stunned by this scene. They had never seen such a fierce person. As if he didn't believe it, Li Bian stomped his feet again, and another rock pillar emerged and pierced Zhang Feng's head. The next second, Zhang Feng's head was fine, but there was a minor problem with his neck. To be precise, his head was gone, separated from his body. It was not until the head fell to the ground that everyone saw that Zhang Feng was completely motionless, hanging on the rock pillar without moving. Take care of one. Using 3 spells to kill one person is also a big burden for Li Bian. If possible, he really didn't want to continue fighting and should find a safe place to heal his wounds. It's a pity that neither Duan Ming nor Wang Fa would do as he wished. Even Zhang Feng, who was hanging in the air, had the same idea. That's right, just when Li Bian thought he had killed Zhang Feng, the other party actually broke the rock pillar directly and attacked him from top to bottom with his headless body. This time, there was no way to dodge it. Zhang Feng, like a heavy artillery, smashed into Li Bian's body with a bang. This is such a desperate fighting style, who can withstand it? Chapter 79. Golden Sword. Breaking evil. Zhang Feng was like a mortar, hitting Li Bian directly in the chest. Under the powerful impact, he flew backwards, bleeding profusely. It was obvious that he was at the end of his strength. However, Wang Fa did not give the opponent a chance to breathe. After seeing his teammate succeed in his attack, he immediately drew out his sword. In an instant, golden light flashed and a buzzing sound was emitted. I saw an ordinary long sword flying into the air and hanging in the air under his control. The sword was covered with golden light, which was particularly holy. If the method used by Duan Ming is evil, it is full of blood and horror. So given the appearance that Wang Fa showed at this moment, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he is true immortal. He looks particularly transcendent and otherworldly. Golden sword. Break evil. After Wang Fa roared loudly, the long sword rushed out, turned into a stream of light, and headed straight for Li Bian. Seeing this, Li Bian became extremely anxious and reacted quickly, wanting to open the earth wall again for defense. However, as soon as he raised his hand, he felt a repulsive force holding him back tightly, preventing him from moving forward even an inch. At a glance, I saw that the headless monster Zhang Feng was emitting thick black mist all over his body, which formed strips, like a long whip or rope, tightly binding his hands and feet. The next second, Li Bian, who had no time to dodge or defend, was successfully hit by the golden sword, and a stream of light penetrated through his abdomen. For a moment, he felt dizzy and was afraid that he was not far from death. At the same time, Duan Ming, who saw this scene, also had his head buzzing. Isn't this the move that killed me? It can be almost concluded that this move is the sword rain he has seen before. After all, the golden light is so easy to identify. The only difference is that Wang Fa can only control one sword, while the one who killed him, the leader of Lingyun sect, can control tens of thousands of swords at the same time. What are you standing there for? Attack! It seemed that the consumption of the golden sword was quite huge. After one strike, Wang Fa was a little overwhelmed. He broke out in a cold sweat, and even the light on the sword became much dimmer. In this situation, he saw Duan Ming in a daze, and was naturally very angry, and immediately shouted loudly, but he misunderstood. It was not that Duan Ming did not attack, but that he really could not move. In fact, from the very beginning after he fought with Li Bian, he suffered serious internal injuries, and even his right hand was broken. To put it bluntly, it is not easy to still hold the sword without letting go, after fighting to this point, only Wang Fa was in relatively good condition. As for the others, almost all of them were seriously injured. Oh, there is another one that is fatally injured, but I just can't die. However, the battlefield was changing rapidly. Duan Ming's side failed to seize the opportunity to eliminate Li Bian in one fell swoop, so the latter naturally could not sit still and wait for death. While the golden sword was spinning, Li Bian, who was almost dying, suddenly roared. That's right, he, who had no mouth, let out an extremely shrill scream at this moment, or to be more precise, it was the minds of Duan Ming and others that were filled with waves of sonic damage. In an instant, everyone fell to the ground, holding their foreheads in pain, and even their eyes, ears, mouths, and noses, all started bleeding. At that moment, Duan Ming felt dizzy and the whole world became blurry and swaying. However, even so, he still activated True Qi and released his trump card at the last moment before he completely lost consciousness. The next second, a black shadow rushed into the battlefield and rushed towards Li Bian, while shouting loudly, "Evil disciple, don't be so presumptuous." The person who came was Fang Lang again, of course, still a fake Fang Lang. This was originally a trick Duan Ming used to trick people, preparing to have him show up at the critical moment. He did not seek to kill Li Bian, but only hoped to make him distracted for a moment. However, before he could use his strategy, he was forced into a desperate situation and had to use it first to break the situation. As expected, the sonic attack used by Li Bian was not a range attack, but a targeted spell. Therefore, Fang Lang, who had been hiding in the dark, was not affected. He approached the enemy smoothly and stabbed with his sword. It was a very ordinary sword attack. According to common sense, Li Bian would definitely be able to dodge it, or simply counterattack. However, this time, he failed to dodge and was stabbed straight into the chest by the sword, almost nailing him to death. It's not that he didn't want to hide, nor was it that he was distracted, it's just that his injuries were too severe and he couldn't hide. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Duan Ming gritted his teeth, stood up, and rushed forward with his sword in hand. Maybe his true chi was not enough to release the magic, or maybe he had a brain problem and became stupid. He just rushed forward without covering his face, as if he had no idea how terrifying a dying man's desperate attack could be. In short, Duan Ming rushed forward. At the same time, a cold light flashed in the eyes of Li Bian, who was about to die. The next second, Duan Ming slashed Li Bian's neck with his sword. On the other side, Li Bian stomped his leg, and countless rock pillars emerged from the ground, piercing through himself and Duan Ming at the same time, instantly filling their entire bodies. This situation really proved what the simulator said. At the last moment, Duan Ming and Li Bian died together, of course. If this Duan Ming is the real Duan Ming, then the future has not changed. Just after the attack ended, a hand suddenly stretched out from a gravel pit not far away, and then Duan Ming was seen crawling out and smiling at Li Bian. Third Master, I can impersonate Fang Lang, so why can't I impersonate myself? Your death is not unjust. Before the battle began, Duan Ming brought back a total of 3 corpses. One of them was given to Zhang Feng, and the remaining 2 were disguised by him as Fang Lang and himself. The corpse disguised as Fang Lang had been used, but it didn't play much of a role. He intended to use the corpse disguised as Duan Ming at the last moment. After all, they have already seen the simulation results and know clearly that the final blow will result in mutual destruction, so it is naturally impossible for them to take the risk. In this case, the best way is to control the corpse to replace himself, force Li Bian to make the final attack, and let him die of exhaustion. Therefore, after being attacked by sonic waves, Duan Ming first drove the square wolf to attack and kill in order to attract Li Bian's attention. Then he immediately hid in the pit, controlled the corpse disguised as himself, drew his sword and rushed forward. At this point, Li Bian, who was already on the verge of death, had no reason not to take Duan Ming with him after seeing him approaching. Unfortunately, it was because of this that he exhausted his last breath and was just one step away from victory. If the final desperate blow had not been delivered to the dead body but to the law, he would definitely have been able to take one person away. But on the battlefield, there are no ifs. If you fall into a trap, you fall into a trap, and if you lose, you lose. Hey, he must be dead, can anyone help me pick up his head? I've lost it. This was the last sentence Li Bian heard before he closed his eyes, and it was inexplicably full of irony. Chapter 80 Wolf Cub 10 days later. The soul-breaking sect, the burial courtyard. Duan Ming respectfully placed a small black wooden box on the table. Grand Master, I have accomplished my mission and brought back what you requested. After the battle, there was naturally no need to stay in Hetai town for long. After resting for 2 days, Duan Ming and others parted ways. He himself returned to the Broken Soul sect with various thoughts in mind, and brought with him the thing that Fang Lang had been longing for. Therefore, the first thing he did after returning to the sect was to rush to the Zhangnu courtyard to meet Fang Lang. Without any nonsense, he took out the black box directly after meeting and handed it to Fang Lang, and then waited quietly without saying a word. Regarding this, Fang Lang first glanced at the black box, and then examined Duan Ming several times, his expression full of disbelief. Finally, after a long silence, Fang Lang opened the small box, took a look, and his eyes suddenly flashed with an unconcealable brilliance. Good, good, good. Saying 3 good words in one breath was still not enough to summarize Fang Lang's mood at the moment. I originally sent you out just to have you and Li Bian communicate more and prepare for the future assassination. I didn't expect. You really surprise me. A chi refining 4th stage kills a chi refining 8th stage. I have never seen this in my life, but you actually did it. Fang Lang's eyes were fierce and aggressive. He stared at Duan Ming intently, refusing to look away even a little, as if he wanted to eat him alive. But what is puzzling is, this kind of gaze did not make Duan Ming feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, he could feel a strong sense of admiration. Perhaps everyone has a different way of expressing themselves. The old man Fang Lang just likes to use this kind of undisguised aggressive gaze to praise his wolf cub. Tell me how you did it. Then, you can ask for whatever you want without any worries, see of corpse tea. Or martial arts skills, or a large number of spiritual chi pills. It is true that Fang Lang is indeed a bad person, and he even schemed against his disciples, but he also knows how to control his subordinates, and at least he can clearly distinguish between rewards and punishments. This is also the main reason why Duan Ming returned to the Broken Soul sect. His purpose was to take advantage of the situation and maximize his benefits. I have a good friend named Wang Fa, who is a disciple of Lingyun sect's headmaster. He invited me to become a spy and make a contribution to the destruction of the soul-breaking sect, and I agreed. I also specially brought over our sect's head disciple, Zhang Feng. With that, the three of them gathered their strength and used some tricks to kill the third master. There was no lying or falsehood. Duan Ming spoke directly to the truth and gave away Wang Fa and Zhang Feng. However, he was not worried at all that Fang Lang would get angry, and he was even prepared to accept the praise. As expected, when Fang Lang heard this, he was not angry but happy, borrowing a knife to kill someone. Interesting, very good, well done. Hearing this, Duan Ming also started to laugh. His smile was very bright. He knew clearly that as long as the villain was evil enough, there was nothing he could not sell, even his sect's stance. For Fang Lang, he will definitely only care about his own interests. As long as you can achieve your own goals, what does it matter if you betray your sect's stance? Or in other words, if villains also have to take a stand, then there would be no such word as betrayal in the world. Therefore, Duan Ming concluded from the beginning that Fang Lang would not only not pursue the matter, but would instead strongly support it. Are you planning to continue to be undercover, use the same old tricks, and use the power of Lingyun sect to kill the remaining four one by one? Fang Lang continued to ask. Duan Ming nodded and admitted generously, yes, that's exactly what I want. I wonder if Master objects. Object? I'd have to be crazy to object. Just do your best. As long as you can complete the mission, I'll cover it for you even if it means breaking the law. After saying that, the local wolf, in a good mood, handed over a green pill. This is the antidote to the corrupted heart pill. Take it quickly. You won't have to follow these rules when you go out in the future. Obviously, Fang Lang's mood was higher than ever before. After all, he had never treated Duan Ming like this before. How does the saying go? Don't be afraid of being exploited, just be afraid of being of no value to be exploited. Doesn't this situation just prove the point? Duan Ming, who has a high utilization value, will naturally be valued by Fang Lang. Duan Ming naturally would not let go of this opportunity, and said without hiding anything, Grand Master, just one detoxification pill is probably not enough to satisfy my achievements. Shouldn't you give me some other benefits? I want all the money, friends, dharma and land. Duan Ming was very greedy, or rather, he worked desperately to get benefits from Fang Lang, so he was not polite at all. Furthermore, spiritual practice is essentially a battle with heaven and earth. If you don't rob others, others will rob you. There is no logic in this. Ha, wolf cub. Fang Lang laughed. Why didn't you talk to me like this earlier? You acted so cowardly before, it made me angry just looking at you. After saying that, Fang Lang waved his hand, and a small sandalwood box slowly fell in front of Duan Ming. This contains corpse CT, which should allow you to advance by at least 2 realms after drinking it. As for money and skills, you can go to the warehouse and choose whatever you like. Just take it without asking me. I can give you wealth, dharma, and land, but you can't ask me to help you solve the problem of your partner, right? I've been single all my life, would I risk my dignity to help you find a match? At most, I'll take you to the Joyous Union sect some other day, no more. It seemed that the topic had been opened up and everyone stopped acting. Fang Lang even became shameless and burst into laughter, not showing any demeanor of an elder at all. For a moment, the air was filled with a happy atmosphere. Half an hour later, Duan Ming returned to his own courtyard. As soon as I walked in, I saw Zhang Feng sitting in the living room drinking tea. Hey Tilda, you're back. Zhang Feng greeted everyone warmly, looking like he was at home, looking very comfortable. Duan Ming didn't care about this. He sat down carelessly and asked, "How is it? How did you tell the headmaster?" "Just say what you taught me, tell the truth." Zhang Feng shrugged. "Master doesn't care about us joining forces with Lingyun sect at all, he just told me not to ruin Fang Lang's plan, and to help you if I can." I don't know what he was thinking, he didn't even blame me for killing Li Bian. Hearing this, Duan Ming's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he nodded slightly. "It's just as I guessed, the soul-breaking sect is really shady." "What on earth do you mean? Explain it to me." Duan Ming thought for a while, organized his words, and said slowly, "Well, to put it simply, the soul-breaking sect is just a tool for those in power. They use the form of an organization to exploit the lower-level members and seek personal gain. That's about it. I'm afraid that even if the soul-breaking sect is destroyed, Fang Lang or your master, they won't care at all, so they don't treat their disciples as human beings. For them, as long as they are strong enough, they can just move to another place and establish a new sect. There is no need to worry about anything else. Generally speaking, the soul-breaking sect only belongs to those in a higher position, while the others are just nutrients. As for us, we are the knives in their hands and also the chosen spies. Well, the kind that is open and above board, taking it as its mission to sell out the interests of the sect and aiming to harm fellow disciples. I don't even know what this is, a spy in the open, isn't it ironic?" Chapter 81. No money. This time more than half a month has passed. Time is like a trash can on the roadside. No one cares about it, but when it is really needed, we find that it has already been filled up and is very dirty. At this moment, Duan Ming was practicing sword in the courtyard, and he was doing it very well. Sometimes he was fiddling with the sword, sometimes he was poking flies in the air, and sometimes he was cutting trees into sticks. It seemed that he would feel uncomfortable if he didn't destroy something. In fact, he really doesn't need to practice so hard. After all, with the help of the simulator, he can solve the problem by spending some money. It's just that I have been too idle recently and was just looking for something to do, so I picked up the sword and started wreaking havoc in the yard. Zheng. It was a very ordinary sword, and the opponent was also very ordinary, just a mosquito flying around. But Duan Ming suddenly thrust out his sword, and with a clang, he directly cut off the opponent's wings. Qi refining 6th stage, it is indeed much stronger than before, at least there is a clear improvement in control. Yes, that's right. Although he is idle, his strength has been improved. Fang Lang did not lie to him. That box of quartz CT did help him advance by 2 realms, reaching the 6th stage of Qi refining. However, Duan Ming was not satisfied with this. After the battle with Li Bian, he realized that the real fight between cultivators, besides competing in realm, is more about competing in skills and martial arts. It is no exaggeration to say that the martial arts techniques must not only be strong, but also numerous, the more the better. It is best to be able to cover all aspects, including long, medium and short range, attack, defense, dodge and assistance, so that you can be at ease in any battle. Instead of being like when he was fighting against Li Bian, he just used the same few moves over and over again from beginning to end, which was really not enough. Unfortunately, his appetite was spoiled. After searching Fang Lang's warehouse, he couldn't find any martial arts that caught his eye. In the end, he could only randomly pick a defensive martial arts book and use it for the time being. The 9 nether corpse refining technique is considered auxiliary, similar to raising spirit beasts, except that other people raise cats and dogs, while I play with corpses. The mysterious shield technique is a defensive technique. I just learned it after simulating it a few times and I use it carelessly. The combination of the 4 methods is considered a trump card, and although it can instantly increase strength, the vice president's use is too great and cannot last long. The only offensive skills that are frequently used are the maggot and fly corpse sea sword and the Qingfeng sword technique. My methods are still too weak and not good enough. After thinking it over, Duan Ming could not forget the martial arts that Wang Fa used that day. The flashy golden light and the enchanting sword skills are truly unforgettable, and it just so happened that he lacked long-range attack spells. Qingfeng sword technique is a close combat technique. The maggot and fly corpse sea sword is barely considered mid-range, and can also be used in close combat. It would be great if we could get the golden sword. No, I'll get it next time we meet no matter what. I've already agreed to be a spy, so I deserve some benefits. In just a few words, Duan Ming set the tone for the future. He planned to get more benefits from Fang Lang and Lingyun sect before killing all 4 uncles. To put it bluntly, he planned to take advantage of both sides. In this way, benefits will be maximized, you will get what you want, and you will get what you deserve. Goo 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 goo. Just as Duan Ming was practicing swordplay, a fat white dove flew into the courtyard and landed on the treetop. Ha, you're finally here. With his palm facing up and sucking true chi, Duan Ming caught the pigeon directly in his hand and took off a piece of paper. After reading it, he walked towards the back mountain without looking back. About 10 minutes later, in a small ravine somewhere in the back mountain, Wang Fa's figure could be seen from afar. That's right, the white pigeon is the means of communication between Wang Fa and Duan Ming. What's even more shocking is that Wang Fa was able to successfully reach the back mountain of the Broken Soul sect without being discovered by the protective magic circle, and it was all with the help of Fang Lang. In order to help Duan Ming complete the task better, this old man even built a teleportation array by himself to better complete the spy mission. At the beginning, after learning about this, Duan Ming's first reaction was that he had stabbed himself in the back. It's like arriving at a crime scene and finding a body stabbed 18 times in the back, only to have it ruled as suicide. All in all, the spy missions are indeed much more convenient, but they just feel weird and extremely awkward. Brother Duan, I haven't seen you for a long time. I hope you are well. Wang Fa is still dressed in white. I don't know who he learned this from, but he is getting better and better at dressing himself up and looks like a pretty boy. Seeing the other person's expression, Duan Ming didn't know what was wrong. He just wanted to tease the other person, so he suddenly said, "Don't talk, hold it in your mouth." Huh, Wang Fa was stunned, not understanding what was going on. Unfortunately, the people in Immortal Cultivation world don't understand the modern memes, which makes the show less fun. It's okay, why are you looking for me? Let's get down to business. After saying that, Duan Ming spread out his hands and rubbed his fingers together continuously. I understand, talking to you is charged by the minute, right? Wang Fa took out his wallet and handed it over. I don't know how you came up with this trick. I specially got some extra money from Master. Duan Ming took the purse and weighed it in his hand. Feeling its heavy weight, he nodded and said, "Boss Wang, you are so generous. Please come here often in the future. I'm serious, there's something going on." After paying the money, Wang Fa didn't know why, but he felt more confident and his voice became much louder when he spoke. An outer disciple of Lingyun sect accidentally discovered a secret realm while training outside recently. It is very likely that there are secret treasures hidden in it. Hearing this, Duan Ming frowned at first, then asked in confusion, "Oh, secret realm, secret treasure. Why are you speaking so loudly? Are you afraid that no one will eavesdrop?" "Ahem, my master wants to convey this news to you, and then find an opportunity to leak it out to lure the soul-breaking sect to come and rob you." "I understand." Duan Ming waved his hand, "Then you can take advantage of the opportunity to kill the soul-breaking sect disciples and weaken the enemy's strength, right?" To Duan Ming, this kind of secret trick was as simple as playing house, so he guessed the general content at once. "Okay, I'll cooperate. I'm a spy after all." Duan Ming agreed without thinking, but he suddenly changed the topic. "But if you want the horse to run, you have to feed it grass. I believe Boss Wang understands this principle." After all, they were brothers who had experienced life and death together, so Wang Fa was frank and complained, "Didn't you just receive money? Why do you want it again?" Seeing that the other party looked like he wanted to get something for free, Duan Ming immediately became unhappy and said, "No, that's a different price. The soul-breaking sect is my second home after all. If you want to cheat it, you have to pay more." Wang Fa couldn't stand talking about money, especially Duan Ming asking for money so righteously. He nodded repeatedly and said, Okay, I'll get it for you later. I'm really convinced. How could I have made a bad friend like you?" He looked depressed, and had a strange feeling like SpongeBob SquarePants being put on the dining table, with a breath stuck in his chest that he couldn't express. Seeing the other party give in, Duan Ming suddenly smiled evilly, and then slowly revealed his true intentions. "No, I won't take silver this time. What I want is the martial arts technique, the golden sword." Chapter 82 Spirit Weapon, Corpse Decapitation Burial Ground. "Master, this is what happened. We can take this opportunity to kill another master in the secret realm." Duan Ming sat in the guest chair with his legs crossed and touching his belly, looking like a scoundrel. Opposite him was the stern, serious, and dignified old D Fang Lang. This situation is easy to cause misunderstanding as to who is the master and who is the disciple. "Can't you just sit there and talk? What's wrong with you?" Fang Lang was both annoyed and somewhat approving of Duan Ming's casual attitude. He was used to being domineering in his life, and what he could not tolerate the most were spineless and useless people. Therefore, the more arrogant Duan Ming acted, the more he would like him. However, due to the pressure from the elders, he couldn't help but scold him a few words. Duan Ming didn't care about this at all and continued to do as he pleased. He finally figured it out. It's better to pretend to be a grandfather than a grandson. He will definitely fall out with Fang Lang in the end anyway. The other party won't attack him now, so there's no point in enduring it. Why are you sitting? I'm not Reiner and you're not Eren. It's much better to just lie down and talk. It's more comfortable. What Reiner? Eren, why do you always talk nonsense? Fang Lang wiped his beard and changed the subject, but the information is very useful and can indeed be used, but, are you sure you can kill one? Whether you are stupid or not, I'm certainly not sure, otherwise I would just come and kill you. Why would there be so much trouble? Duan Ming curled his lips and responded. As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly froze. Fang Lang's face was so gloomy, as if he had been beaten up by the fairies Balala. It was unbearable to look at. Well, I mean, in order to complete the mission assigned by our master, we will not hesitate to go through fire and water. We will go ahead even if we are not sure. We will never let our master down. Knowing that what he said just now was a bit too much, based on the principle of giving a slap in the face and then giving a sweet date in return, Duan Ming immediately sat up, straightened his attitude, and began to talk nonsense righteously. Unfortunately, Fang Lang was still angry and yelled, "Get lost." Okay, after saying that, Duan Ming actually rolled over and slid to the door. I have to admit that he is really humble and doesn't care about his face at all. After all, the more someone cares about his face, the less likely people will give him face in life. Wait a minute, seeing Duan Ming so relaxed, Fang Lang seemed to be amused. He took out a long sword from his storage bag and threw it over. Duan Ming caught the sword steadily. Even before he looked at it carefully, he could already feel its extraordinariness. An ordinary sword blade, no matter how finely it is forged, is still made of ordinary iron and is not worthy of being put on the table. However, at this moment, the long sword in his hand had a faint flow of spirit chi. Just a slight feeling would tell that it was no ordinary thing. This sword is a spirit weapon named Corpse Slasher, a weapon I used in my early years. Although it is only yellow rank low grade, it is enough for your use at this stage. Put it away, and then, you can continue to roll. Of course, there is law treasure in the world of cultivation, but it is not common, and it is generally impossible to access it before reaching the foundation building stage. Now, unexpectedly, Fang Lang would be so generous, which made Duan Ming very happy. At the same time, he once again realized that the task of killing the 5 uncles must be extremely important to Fang Lang, and it was almost ranked first in priority, second only to taking toilet paper when going to the toilet. By the way, in the world of cultivation, law treasure is divided into 4 levels, namely, Heaven, Earth, Mysterious and Yellow. And each rank 1 is divided into upper, middle and lower, a total of 3 levels. In other words, what Duan Ming got now was the lowest level spirit weapon, yellow rank low grade. But it is indeed as Fang Lang said, even the lowest level spirit weapon is enough for the chi refining stage, and it is even a bit too luxurious. It's almost like, at such a young age, his monthly salary has reached 3,200 yuan. Who would have dared to imagine such an amazing level? The most outrageous thing is that they had beef buns for breakfast, 3 at a time. Who would have dared to imagine that? Tisk tisk tisk, I can say without exaggeration that he is definitely a thief and not a simple one. In short, after getting the benefits, Duan Ming just rolled away with a smile on his face. You little brat, I like you. Seeing Duan Ming rolling further and further away until he gradually disappeared, Fang Lang couldn't help but narrow his eyes, emitting a sharp light. If he wasn't a corpse-born child, I might have really cultivated him with all my heart. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned. Return to your own yard. At this moment, Duan Ming was laughing so hard that his saliva was about to flow out. In just less than half a day, he just acted as a messenger, but he got the 2 great benefits of Golden Sword and corpse beheading for nothing. As expected, selling out teammates has many benefits, and he has tasted the sweetness of betrayal. Being a spy is so easy. But to be on the safe side, it's better to simulate the process to avoid any accidents. Thinking of this, Duan Ming immediately took out the Golden Sword technique and began to read it. The purpose is self-evident. Naturally, they hope to learn swordsmanship during the simulation so that they will have an additional means of attack in the future. Hey, why is there only the first half? It seems that Wang Fa didn't learn at all. We have to wait for the second half. Duan Ming felt a little disappointed, but he didn't think Wang Fa was playing tricks on him. After all, they were brothers who had experienced life and death together, and they still had some trust in each other. To be honest, if Wang Fa asked him for the maggot and fly corpse sea sword, or the 9 nether corpse refining method, he would also give it to them, but he might ask for a few 100 million yuan. In short, Golden Sword is divided into 2 parts, and it is unknown how many moves there are in total, but as for the upper part, 2 sword techniques are recorded. First, the Golden Sword that breaks evil. It looks particularly like the move that killed Duan Ming, but in fact it is not. To put it simply, it is a simple flying sword attack, but it has a GPS automatic positioning system, which can actively search for the enemy and strike accurately. And it does have a certain effect in exorcising evil, and can often produce greater power against zombies like Chubao. Second, the Golden Sword, Shattered Shadow. This move is similar to the Shadow Clone Ninjutsu in Naruto. After casting, it will be divided into 9 afterimages in total, scattering in all directions, making it difficult for the enemy to distinguish between the real and the fake. However, afterimage does not have real attack power, so it can only be regarded as an auxiliary martial art, used to achieve a surprise victory. After spending some time, Duan Ming finished reading half of the sword technique book, and then silently reviewed it several times in his mind before turning on the simulator. Current balance 516. Do you want to use the life simulator? Each use consumes 40 gold. Chapter 83. Hell Demon. At the age of 16, you met with Wang Fa to discuss the destruction of the soul-breaking sect, learned about the secret realm, and obtained the martial arts technique, Golden Light Sword. Half a day later, you told Fang Leng about the secret realm, and he decided to add fuel to the fire. 10 days later, you learned that under the pressure of the soul-breaking sect, the Lingyun sect compromised and agreed to share the treasures in the secret realm. However, both parties agreed that those above the foundation building could not participate, so as to avoid escalating the fight and causing it to be unresolved. 15 days later, you are selected as one of the members to enter the secret realm, and learn that your 4th uncle Zhao Chuer is also among them. 1 month later, you entered the secret realm. Right at the beginning, you were besieged and hunted down by disciples of Lingyun sect. You tried to convince them with your virtue and told them about the spies, but they refused to listen and you killed them one by one. 1 day later, you ran into Zhao Chuer and had a fight with her, but you were eventually overwhelmed and captured alive. 10 days later, you will lose all your cultivation. Lose your blood and energy, become mentally exhausted, become as thin as a bamboo pole, and breathe your last. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life without happiness. Listen to my brother's advice. Cultivating immortals is a dead end. Boys must protect themselves when they are outside. The simulation ends. Duan Ming's expression was quite interesting. He immediately turned into an old man on the subway looking at his mobile phone, full of confusion and a bunch of question marks. He knew that his 4th uncle Zhao Chuer had always had improper thoughts about him. After all, similar things had happened in previous simulations. But now it seems that the other party is not just after beauty, there may be deeper reasons. If it was an accident, combined with the tragic scene of death, Duan Ming immediately thought of the word, Kai Bu. It is very likely that Zhao Chuer has practiced some unknown martial arts that can drain all of Duan Ming's cultivation. But why me? There are so many handsome guys out there, why does she have to pick on me? Isn't she worried about being in trouble with Fang Lang later? Duan Ming could guess Zhao Chuer's purpose for doing this, but he couldn't understand why she was so persistent. After all, she was Fang Lang's disciple, and she had not received any orders to kill her fellow disciples, so the consequences would definitely be very serious. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she would be beaten to death by Fang Lang with one palm. Therefore, after thinking about it, Duan Ming could only attribute the cause to the corpse-born child. After all, if there was no absolute temptation of benefit, Zhao Chuer would not dare to take such a big risk. And he, Duan Ming, the greatest value in his body is corpse-born child. Other than that, there is nothing else. Simulation ends. You can keep one of the following. Point 1. The cultivation level at the age of 16.2. My experience of cultivation at the age of 16. Life experiences at the age of 3 or 16. There is absolutely no choice. Although for a moment, Duan Ming wanted to try his life experience, but he finally restrained himself. After all, we are human beings, not beasts. If we can't even control our lower body, our life will be over. Therefore, after randomly choosing number 2, he started the simulation again. However, this time he did not plan to go to the secret realm. Instead, he planned to find a safe place to hide and practice, and then do other things after improving his strength. At the age of 16, you met with Wang Fa to discuss the destruction of the soul-breaking sect, learned about the secret realm, and obtained the martial arts technique, Golden Light Sword. Half a day later, you told Fang Lang about the secret realm, and he decided to add fuel to the fire. 15 days later, you learned that you were chosen and were about to go to the secret realm. You decided to sneak away, but you were captured by Fang Lang on the way. 1 month later, you were forced to enter the secret realm. As soon as you entered, you left the team and hid in an uninhabited cave. 10 days later, everyone in the secret realm was beaten to a pulp, and there were corpses everywhere, but you ignored them and focused on your cultivation. Half a month later, turmoil broke out in the secret realm, and a large number of hell demons suddenly appeared and hunted humans everywhere. You still ignored them and concentrated on your cultivation. 1 month later, you happened to see Wang Fa and Zhang Feng fighting. Their opponent was a grotesque hell demon. You could no longer sit idly by and help them. The three of you were no match for the hell demon and were defeated one after another. Finally, Zhang Feng's small universe exploded and he suddenly transformed into a humanoid monster, perishing together with the enemy. This allowed you and Wang Fa to survive. 3 days later, Wang Fa was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Before he died, he told you that there was a magic circle in the secret realm that could help people practice quickly, and he drew a map for you. 4 days later, you will bury Wang Fa and Zhang Feng, build a tomb for them, bid farewell, and search for the magic circle. 7 days later, you find the magic circle, but discover that the outer perimeter is filled with hell demons, and you can't find a way to get in. 10 days later, you were discovered by Zhao Chuer. You fought but were still defeated and were eventually captured alive. You are taken to an unknown cave and find 2 other women waiting there. Their eyes light up when they see you. After 15 days, you will lose all your cultivation, your chi and blood will be depleted, and you will become as thin as a toothpick. You died, and ended this life. Comment: died young, a life without happiness. Listen to my advice, cultivating immortals is a dead end. I told you to protect yourself, why don't you listen? Duan Ming felt numb, but for some reason the corners of his mouth actually slightly raised. This simulation still did not yield any substantial gains. The skills were not mastered and the realm was not improved, but it was not a complete failure. At least, I learned a lot of valuable information. First, hell demons will appear in the secret realm. Duan Ming had never seen this kind of creature before, but it was not the first time he had heard of it. At least in the world of cultivation, even mortals know about the existence of the hell demon. Even when children are disobedient, their parents will use the hell demon to scare them, saying that if they don't study hard, they will be captured by the hell demon. In short, it is a very strange creature, with many different species, and it has caused heavy casualties to humans. Second, there is a cultivation array in the secret realm. For Duan Ming, this was like a blessing after a long drought, and it came at the right time. Judging from the current results, he will definitely not be able to escape from Fang Lang's clutches, so entering the secret realm will be a foregone conclusion. However, there are constant fights in the secret realm, and accidents can happen at any time and anywhere, making it difficult to practice with peace of mind. Therefore, if one has the support of a cultivation array, one can quickly improve one's skills and cultivation level in a very short period of time. In short, after learning about the existence of the magic circle, Duan Ming only had one thought in his mind, which was, you have to go to the circle to practice no matter what. Even Jesus can't stop you. I say that. Chapter 84. Card Bug. At the age of 16, you met with Wang Fa to discuss the destruction of the soul-breaking sect, learned about the secret realm, and obtained the martial arts technique, Golden Light Sword. Half a day later, you told Fang Lang about the secret realm, and he decided to add fuel to the fire. 15 days later, after you learned that you were chosen, you asked Fang Lang for the demon-breaking talisman, which you intended to use against the hell demon. Although Fang Lang had some doubts, he still gave it to you. 1 month later, you successfully entered the secret realm, and immediately separated from the main group to go out in search of a cultivation array. 1 day later, you found the magic circle, but still didn't know how to open it. You once again realized the importance of learning. 3 days later, you accidentally reversed the magic circle, causing an explosion. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, lived an ignorant and fearless life. Listen to my advice. Cultivating immortals is a dead end. Can you spend more time learning about magic arrays? Duan Ming had a headache, and he felt as if he had just 50 million won in lottery, but was hit to death as soon as he went out. The magic circle was indeed found, but he never expected that the so-called magic circle for cultivation would become his own grave. Even if we look at this incident in a positive way, it's still really frustrating. Fortunately, there is still time. There is at least another month before entering the secret realm. I can take this opportunity to catch up on my knowledge of magic arrays. Duan Ming did it as he thought. He immediately got up and went out to Fang Lang's small warehouse. After searching for a while, he finally found a book called Basic Magic Array Encyclopedia, Getting Started. After that, he was just like a student preparing for the college entrance examination, studying day and night, with such enthusiasm that he wanted to use all his strength. Just like that, 7 days passed. Duan Ming finally finished reading the book and barely got the hang of it. He had a general idea of what a magic circle was, how to use luck, and so on. However, this little knowledge was definitely not enough, which made Duan Ming still unsure. But he still planned to give it a try and see how it went. After all, everyone has had a chance to get lucky. What if it works? Current balance 396. Do you want to use the life simulator? Each use consumes 40 gold. At the age of 16, you met with Wang Fa to discuss the destruction of the soul-breaking sect, learned about the secret realm, and obtained the martial arts technique, Golden Light Sword. 1 month later, you successfully enter the secret realm, immediately leave the main group, and after spending some time, successfully arrive at the magic circle. With your limited knowledge, you start to study how to open the magic circle. Although the process is a bit difficult, it is not completely clueless. You can barely understand it and study it slowly. 3 days later, you finally figured out how to open the magic circle, and learned that this circle is called the deduction array, and is specifically used to practice martial arts. It can be said that you are making rapid progress. You inject true qi into the 4 directions of the magic circle, and then use your mind to control the 4 directions at the same time, and finally converge at the center of the magic circle, and then successfully open it. 7 days later, with the help of the magic circle, you successfully learn the golden sword, breaking evil. 10 days later, with the help of the magic circle, you successfully learn the golden sword, broken shadow. 15 days later, you successfully practice the 9 nether corpse refining method, to the 4th level, causing your cultivation to soar, reaching the peak of the 6th stage of qi refining, and then reaching a bottleneck. 1 month later, you successfully cultivated the maggot fly corpse sea sword, to the 3rd level, causing your cultivation to increase greatly, but you were unable to break through the bottleneck. 1 day later, the hell demons caused unrest, and you had to stop practicing and leave the magic circle to find a safe cave to hide. 5 days later, you were attacked by Zhao Chuer, and you fought with her and suffered heavy damage. In the end, you escaped in a panic at the cost of the death of Chou Bao. 10 days later, your injuries are serious and will not improve. You will die. 15 days later, you are filled with grief and anger. At the last moment of life and death, you successfully break through the 7th stage of qi refining and turn danger into safety. 20 days later, you recover from your injuries and go out to look for Wang Fa and Zhang Feng, preparing to join forces to kill Zhao Chuer. After 30 days, you haven't found a single living person, and there are hell demons everywhere. The situation has become critical. 35 days later, you are surrounded by the hell demons, and eventually your true qi is exhausted and you are devoured by the demons. You died, and ended this life. Evaluation: died young, a life of ups and downs. Listen to my brother's advice. Cultivating immortals is a dead end, turn back now. Duan Ming was conflicted. To be honest, this was the best simulation he had ever had, no doubt about it. Not only has his skills been greatly improved, but even his realm has been broken through. Of course, he still died miserably, but that didn't matter. Now he is very conflicted. Should he choose a martial arts method or a breakthrough in realm? Why don't you choose your realm first, and then simulate it once to upgrade your skills? Anyway, there is enough balance. After thinking for a while, Duan Ming made a decisive decision. This is what he thought. Because of the breakthrough in his technique, his true qi increased greatly, and then his realm broke through. if I improve my realm first and then my technique, doesn't that mean I can do it again, obtain true chi again, and thus break through the realm? This is equivalent to using a bug in the game, where you repeatedly spawn a small monster that can't attack you, and provide yourself with unlimited experience points. Of course, all this is based on certain prerequisites. First, when deducing the magic circle, without the support of the magic circle, there is naturally no way to get stuck with bugs. Secondly, the true chi provided by the technique is limited, and is definitely not enough to support much of a breakthrough, and once it is chosen, it is equivalent to fixing the bug. In short, Duan Ming would naturally not miss the opportunity to take advantage of it. Simulation ends, you can keep one of the following. Point 1. The cultivation level at the age of 16.2. My experience of cultivation at the age of 16. Life experiences at the age of 3 or 16. There is no hesitation, make the choice instantly. The next second, Duan Ming felt as if there was thunder in his body, crackling. Then a huge amount of true chi washed over his internal organs, and he didn't even need any traction. Every second was an enjoyment. Just like that, no one knew how long it had passed, but when Duan Ming opened his eyes again, he had reached the 7th stage of chi refining. In less than a month, his realms broke through one after another, soaring from the 4th stage of chi refining to the 7th stage of chi refining, which was extremely fast. It was not until this time that Duan Ming felt for the first time that he was a qualified transmigrator and seemed to have the potential to be a long Aotian. At this speed, we're not far from the foundation building. Old Fang Lang, your good days are really coming to an end. Come again and see if I can break through the realm again. If not, I'll choose a new technique. It's a win-win either way. Chapter 85. Attributeless Spirit Root. 15 days later. A scream suddenly came from the funeral courtyard. Chi refining 7th stage, still in peak condition, about to break through. Inside the house, Fang Lang's eyes widened as if he had seen something incredible. On the other side, Duan Ming smiled and responded, I have to thank my master for the gift of corpse CT and spiritual chi pill. After taking them, my strength has indeed increased greatly. I believe I can complete the task better. Hearing this, Fang Lang's expression changed again and again. After a long time, he turned back into the cold and sinister old man, squinting his eyes in. Constantly examining his good disciple. He knew the effects of corpse CT, and was also very clear about the dosage he gave. At most, it could only allow Duan Ming to improve 2 realms, no more, but now the reality is slightly different from what I thought. For a moment, I was somewhat surprised and inevitably a little out of control. All right, after a moment's silence, Fang Lang suddenly smiled. No matter what, this is a happy event and worth celebrating. You are lucky. At this point, he suddenly paused, then clicked his tongue again and said, you came here not just to show off to me, right? Is there anything else? Master is wise. I would like to ask for some talismans for future missions. Duan Ming was not vague and directly stated his purpose. Spiritual explosion, divine speed, demon breaking, give me some of them. Can. Fang Lang didn't even think about it and directly took out a stack of talismans and handed them over. Anyway, these consumables are not worth much money to him, so just give them to him. By the way, your chance has indeed come. After giving the talisman, Fang Lang suddenly said with a smile, I have persuaded the head of the sect to put pressure on Lingyun sect. In 15 days, we will join forces to enter the secret realm, but we will only send chi refining stage disciples, and you and Zhao Chuer will be among them. Do you understand? This news was not surprising at all to Duan Ming, as he had known it clearly for a long time. However, he still pretended to be cautious, and after thinking for a long time, he nodded solemnly, Master, don't worry, I know what to do. If there's nothing else, then go down and get ready. After saying that, Fang Lang waved his hand and ordered them to leave. Seeing this, Duan Ming didn't want to stay for long. After bowing, he left alone. But not long after he walked out of the door, a strong smell of blood wafted into the house. Chi refining 7th stage, chi refining 7th stage, it seems this kid is hiding a secret from me. At this moment, Fang Lang's face was extremely gloomy, and his eyes were flashing with brilliance, as if he was thinking about something. However, it's not a big problem and there won't be any accidents. After all, considering his qualifications, it would be extremely difficult for him to get the foundation building. No matter what, he can't get out of my control. Fang Lang talked to himself while recalling the scene when he first met Duan Ming. This kid is quite smart and ruthless, but his talent is extremely low. belonging to the spirit root without attributes, which makes him the worst among the worst. Fang Lang kept this matter in his heart and never revealed it. In his opinion, Duan Ming's achievement in this life could only reach the 9th level of qi refining at best, and there was no possibility of going any further. If it weren't for the influence of his identity as a corpse-born child, he would not have had the time to argue with Duan Ming and would have sent him to death long ago. In short, Fang Lang has lived for so many years and has never seen a person with a tributellus spirit root succeed in foundation building. Therefore, although he was a little surprised when facing Duan Ming's rapid growth in strength, he always felt that the other party could not make a comeback and was still under his control. As long as you can't build the foundation building, you will eventually be under my control, so just do your job honestly. 1 month later. In front of a cave somewhere in the valley, a large crowd of people gathered and bustled about. It's just that they are divided into 2 factions, and anyone with a discerning eye can tell that the 2 sides will definitely not get along. They were dressed in the same uniform, with the people on the left all in white, and immortal chi fluttering in the wind, making it look like someone wanted to give them the nice guy card. On the other side, they were dressed in thick black and looked extremely fierce. Some even had the word fierce carved on their faces, making them look very immature. In short, the 2 sides each occupy a clear position, and neither of them can stand the other. Brother Duan, why don't you see Wang Fa? Isn't he coming? In the crowd, Zhang Feng, who loved to make noise, kept looking around and kept looking towards Lingyun sect. However, he did not see Wang Fa after looking around, and he couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. We've already agreed to die together, so if he doesn't come it will be less fun. Hey Tilda, there's someone glaring at me over there, what are you looking at? I'll beat you to death later. Duan Ming was no longer surprised by Zhang Feng's behavior. This kid just couldn't sit still. It was impossible to control him, so he could only let him be. He is the master's disciple, so naturally he will be more impressive. He may arrive later. Duan Ming answered perfunctorily. He did not pay attention to Wang Fa and Zhang Feng. Instead, he was silently observing his 4th uncle, Zhao Chuer. It's just that the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it to heart. As soon as the words fell, Zhang Feng was immediately unhappy. Everyone is the master's disciple, why am I so unpresentable? Hearing this, Duan Ming was amused. After licking his lips, he joked, You don't count. At most, you are the pet raised by the headmaster. You can't compare. You are such a direct person. If you were not my benefactor, I would have beaten you to death. As a mentally ill person, Zhang Feng is definitely abnormal. Being able to remain restrained in front of Duan Ming is already a sign of great respect. If anyone else had said these words to him, they would have been beaten to death, literally. As the 2 were talking, a group of people suddenly flew over from the horizon. Upon closer inspection, they saw that it was Wang Fa, his master Yang Origenzi, and a group of elders. At the same time, from the other half of the sky flew out the leader of the Broken Soul sect, Qing Yuanzi, and a group of elders, including Fang Lang. It was the first time that Duan Ming saw his own leader, so he was a little curious for a moment and couldn't help but take a few more glances. The old man had an ordinary appearance and his clothes were very simple and inconspicuous. He was the kind of person that no one would even glance at if he walked on the street. As for Qing Yuanzi, it was not the first time for Duan Ming. Until now, he has not forgotten the pain of being pierced by thousands of swords. He didn't know why, but he always felt that the 2 leaders looked somewhat similar, as if they had consulted the same plastic surgeon. Then, the 2 sides were seen staying in the sky and chatting for a long time. Although I couldn't hear what they were saying, I could tell that the atmosphere was very tense. Everyone had a grim look on their faces, as if they would draw their swords against each other in the next second. Then, everyone dispersed unhappily, landed one after another, and each came to the divided area belonging to their own camp to take charge of the overall situation. Chapter 86. Backroom Operation. This secret realm is a cave mansion left behind by a predecessor of the foundation building. It contains the grotto heaven. You must not be lazy. After entering, try to act in a group to avoid being taken advantage of by the Lingyun sect and losing your life. Anyone who kills a Lingyun sect disciple can get a reward by taking off their token. Afterwards, they returned to the sect and were handed over to the elders of merit to count and reward them according to their merits. In addition, obtaining law treasure, skills, and other items in the cave can also be counted as merit. In short, the soul-breaking sect will not treat you unfairly. Those who work hard will be rewarded, and those who desert in the face of danger or are timid will never be forgiven. Now, prepare yourself and enter the secret realm. Qing Yuanzi's voice was not loud, but it was clear enough for everyone present to hear. All in all, this situation is very much like the company's annual meeting, where the boss takes the stage to give a speech and starts painting a rosy picture for the employees. Anyway, in Duan Ming's opinion, if he really got the martial arts techniques, spirit weapon and other items, he would definitely not hand them over. It would be almost as if he had lost his mind. As for actively hunting down disciples of Lingyun sect, it is worth a try. After all, in the immortal cultivation world, if you want to get rich overnight, you have to kill people and rob them. Anyway, even if he didn't cause trouble for the disciples of Lingyun sect, they would definitely come looking for him, and a fight was inevitable. Soon, everyone entered in order. First, there are disciples with lower cultivation, most of whom were concentrated between the 3rd and 5th stages of qi refining. This group of people are cannon fodder, used to explore the way. But in order to save face, both the Broken Soul sect and the High Cloud sect all spoke with the same opinion. The general meaning is, if you have a low level of cultivation, go in first, and find a place to hide while you have plenty of time, so as not to be hunted by those who come in later. If you are lucky, you may even be the first to find some treasures, so it will be worth the trip. Duan Ming naturally sneered at this. His mind was as clear as a mirror and he could see everything clearly. Sure enough, even the Lingyun sect, which claims to be a famous and upright sect, also follows the law of the jungle, without exception. So, there is no distinction between good and evil in the immortal cultivation world. It is nothing more than a bunch of pitiful creatures trying to defying the heavens and changing fate, pursuing immortality, a world where you kill me and I kill you. Duan Ming's voice was so low that it did not attract the attention of those around him. But at this moment, Fang Lang's voice suddenly rang in his mind. What are you standing there for? Come in. Duan Ming was stunned at first, then turned to look at Fang Lang. After receiving the other party's tacit nod, he reacted instantly and strode towards the cave. This old man is so nice that he didn't reveal my strength. It seems like he wants to give Zhao Chuer a surprise, but there are people from Lingyun sect at the door. They are testing everyone's realm. How can I hide this? This shouldn't be a trick on me, right? After all, there is really no motive or reason. Duan Ming thought as he walked to the cave entrance and lined up to wait for inspection. In order to ensure that the other party would not play tricks, the Broken Soul sect and the High Cloud sect each sent out an elder to test and verify the cultivation level of each other's disciples. In this way, fairness and justice can be guaranteed and no one can cheat or use tricks. This is to prevent a large group of low-level disciples from entering and suddenly appearing with qi refining 9th stage and starting to kill everyone, causing heavy losses. Now, Duan Ming has reached the 7th level of qi refining. Logically, he should be a member of the second batch of members, but he cannot join them yet. But for some reason, Fang Lang dared to instruct him to do so, and to carry out the shady operations openly, although he didn't understand why. Considering that Fang Lang would not cheat him in this matter, Duan Ming still gritted his teeth and lined up to wait for inspection. Soon, about 3 minutes later, he came in front of the elder of Lingyun sect. This is a female monk. She is a little older, but full of mature charm. I believe she had no shortage of suitors when she was young. However, the other party's attitude was extremely cold. Facing a group of disciples from the soul-breaking sect, he never smiled from beginning to end and always had a stern face. Hold it. The female monk pointed to a bead in front of her and then said no more, just looking at Duan Ming coldly. Hearing this, Duan Ming didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to hide his cultivation level. After hesitating for a while, he finally did as he was told and picked up the bead. After a while, the originally transparent beads began to show various colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, everything, constantly changing. As time went by, after about 5 seconds, the color inside the bead fixed and turned black. Then the voice of a female monk was heard. Black, qi refining level 5 and below, confirmed, you can enter. After getting the confirmation, Duan Ming was a little dazed. He still couldn't figure out how Fang Lang had done something to let him pass. But now is not the time to ask, so I can only walk into the cave and enter the secret realm. As soon as he entered the cave, he could feel a chilly wind blowing, biting and icy, as if it was warning the newcomers to retreat quickly or else they would die. Unfortunately, both Duan Ming and other disciples ignored the warning and walked forward without looking back. After walking about 100 meters, they saw a stone wall right in front of them, with no way forward. It's just that this place is similar to the protective formation of the Broken Soul sect. It's just a trick. Duan Ming didn't hesitate and slammed his head against the wall. Then he felt a black screen in front of his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he had already entered the secret realm. This vast primeval forest is all green as far as the eye can see, and it can be called a paradise for Lao Wang next door. Moreover, every tree here is so huge that you can't hug it with two outstretched hands. It would take at least 3 people working together to hug it. Duan Ming looked around and found that there were 8 people who were teleported to the same place as him. Among them, there are 4 people from the Broken Soul sect and 4 people from the Lingyun sect. The 2 sides are balanced in numbers and neither side has a clear advantage. Everyone, although you and I belong to different sects and have different philosophies, we are both low-level disciples. There is no need to make things difficult for each other from the beginning. After all, there will be people with stronger skills coming in later, and if a fight breaks out at this time, it will not be good for anyone. I think it would be better for everyone to disperse and focus on finding treasures first, and try to avoid fighting. Just when the 2 sides were in a stalemate and no one could make up their mind, Duan Ming took the lead and stood up to explain the pros and cons. In his opinion, it would not be difficult to kill the 4 disciples of Lingyun sect, but the trouble was that there were 3 other disciples of Duanyun sect. At the moment, he doesn't want to expose his own strength, lest someone tip off Zhao Chuer, and then he will lose the opportunity for a sneak attack. As for killing the other 3 disciples of the Broken Soul sect, Duan Ming was not sure that he would not let any of them escape. If unfortunately one person escapes, there will definitely be trouble next. Therefore, after thinking it over, Duan Ming felt that there was no need to start a massacre at this time, so he stood up and said these words. Fortunately, the disciples of Lingyun sect are not stupid. Even though they claim to be fighting demons and defending the way, they still know what is important when it comes to their own lives. Soon, they took the initiative to retreat and temporarily avoid the attack. Chapter 87 Sweet Bean Duan Ming left, leaving behind the 3 soul-breaking sect disciples, and headed towards the deduction formation alone. Although he had used it many times in simulation, he still planned to go and see it with his own eyes. It's easy to talk about it on paper, but it's a bit troublesome to actually put it into practice. Although we know the specific range of the magic circle, it is not an easy task to actually find it. The thing that primeval forests have the most is trees. They are so dense that they block out the sun, and there are absolutely no reference points to serve as directions. As Duan Ming walked, he became a little confused. He felt that every place looked almost the same, as if he had been there before. Fortunately, he had made preparations in advance. He took out the positioning compass, identified the direction, and then headed forward, so he did not get lost. Along the way, everything was unusually quiet. Not only did we not encounter any humans, we didn't even hear the chirping of insects or birds. This is very strange. How could such a large primeval forest be without any living creatures? It is hard not to have wild thoughts. As he was walking, Duan Ming suddenly stopped and made a slight sound of doubt. The reason for this was simply because a few green figures accidentally flew out from the bushes in front of him. These figures were not big, about the size of sparrows, and there were 7 of them in total, flying and playing in the forest. If you observe carefully, you will find that these creatures are not green in color, but are covered with soft green light all over their bodies and are full of spirit chi. The most important thing is, they are very similar to the elves in the legend, with human-like appearance and a pair of butterfly-like wings. Duan Ming's sudden appearance startled the poor little creatures, and they flew into the bushes and hid in the blink of an eye. It's just that they are a little stupid and don't look very smart. Some of them just buried their heads in the leaves, leaving their buttocks exposed, looking like they were trying to cover up their ears and steal the bell. Some of them hid behind the trees and poked their heads out, staring at Duan Ming with blinking eyes, feeling both fearful and curious. Some even ran into trees in such a panic that they fainted and collapsed to the ground. In short, this group of little guys is very curious no matter how you look at them. Duan Ming didn't think much about it. He walked forward, picked up the little thing that had just hit the tree, and turned it in front of his eyes to take a look. What is this? He had never seen or heard of this kind of creature, and was quite curious for a moment. Perhaps the noise was a little too loud, or perhaps the injury was not too serious. The little one who had fainted woke up, but as soon as it opened its eyes, it saw a big face in front of it and immediately fainted from fright. Hey, isn't it rude of you to faint at this time? Duan Ming is quite confident about his appearance and is the type who can be a sea king. so when he realized that he had scared the other person unconscious with just his face, he was a little speechless. What about you? You won't save your companions. You'll just watch. Seeing that the little one showed no signs of waking up, Duan-Ming tried to communicate with the other little ones who were hiding. He wanted to see if these creatures had intelligence and whether they could communicate. However, it seemed that his tone was not gentle enough. The other little ones all shrank behind the trees, looking anxious but still not daring to come forward. It seems to understand what I mean, but it can't communicate with words. It's really a strange creature. Seeing this situation, Duan-Ming didn't bother to think too much. He just picked up the unconscious kid and left. He didn't intend to let it go. He had picked it up by his own ability, so why should he let it go? In short, he planned to take one away and go back to study it slowly, or ask other people what kind of creature it was. I don't ask for the good luck to pick up an ancient spirit beast when I go out. I'm just simply curious and want to know more about this world. However, just as he stood up and prepared to leave, the group of little ones who had been hiding finally couldn't hold back and flew out all at once. Hey, do you want to fight again? Looking at this group of green little guys, Duan-Ming couldn't help but smile slightly, not taking them seriously at all. But what happened was completely beyond his expectations, and it could even be said that it was completely out of the ordinary. The little guys who rushed out did not show any aggressive behavior. Instead, they knelt down and looked at Duan-Ming pitifully. For a moment, looking at this group of extremely aggrieved little creatures, Duan-Ming had a strange feeling that he was the great demon king, the big villain. You guys are pretty good at it. If these small creatures really showed their intention to attack, I'm afraid Duan-Ming would never show mercy. He would either catch them all or kill them all, leaving no one alive. However, they begged for mercy in a very humane manner, which immediately filled Duan-Ming with guilt. Of course, if the person begging for mercy was someone like Fang Lang, he would definitely not feel the slightest bit of anxiety and might even think that the other party was cheating. However, facing this small creature that could be crushed to death with ease but was extremely human-like, Duan-Ming really couldn't bear to be cruel. Perhaps this is the compassion that the strong have for the weak, just like humans rarely have hostility towards pets such as cats and dogs. Just when Duan-Ming didn't know what to do, one of the little ones suddenly flew up, and then used all his strength, and a soft and delicate green light appeared in his hands. A green light, puffed, and landed on Duan-Ming's arm. He immediately felt cool and comfortable. This, Duan-Ming is not stupid, or rather, the effect of the green light is too obvious. In an instant he realized that this ball of green light was a healing spell that could not only relieve fatigue, but also heal injuries and even beautify the skin. Looking at the pitiful little creatures, Duan-Ming felt a sense of excitement as if he had really found a treasure. For a moment, he even wondered if he had been possessed by Long Aotian. How could he be so lucky? In short, he quickly understood what the little guys meant. The so-called healing spell was actually a bribe to himself in exchange for the safety of his companions, unfortunately. The next second, Duan-Ming, without any hesitation, took all the little ones into his arms and prepared to pack them up and take them away. In order to prevent them from escaping, a sweet bean was stuffed into each of their mouths as a fee for getting on board. In this way, not only did they fail to save their companion, but the other 6 were also abducted. Here, after you eat my sweet beans, you are mine from now on, so don't run around. From now on, you will be called Sweet Bean number 1, you are number 2, and it is no. 3. Hey, how can I feed you? I can't put you in a storage bag, and you can't sleep in a coffin like Chubao. It's really a hassle. Duan-Ming was talking alone, but none of the little guys wanted to pay attention to him. All the little ones were attracted by the delicious taste of the sweet beans and were easily won over. No matter what, a corpse-born child could never be so lucky. Chapter 88. 4 things at once. Okay, can you please stop doing this? My face is so tender that water can be squeezed out of it. Duan-Ming rushed towards the magic circle. During this time, the 7 little ones who had just been tamed seemed to have completely surrendered and kept casting healing spells at him. However, Duan-Ming had no injuries on his body, and it ended up being a beauty spa, which was more effective than any skin care product. He originally had a good appearance, and he immediately transformed himself into a tender and juicy young man, who was very delicious. Just like that, he made up for it as he walked, and by the time he reached the magic circle, his whole body was filled with immortal qi, which was even more powerful than the law. Here it is. After passing through a jungle, Duan-Ming soon saw the magic circle. It consisted of 4 stone pillars and a large area of stone slabs covering the ground. Moreover, the stone slab was filled with many unknown runes, like a heavenly book, which was incomprehensible and impossible to guess. Fortunately, Duan Ming had learned about it through the simulator in advance. Although there were still many things he didn't understand, he knew how to use it. Just like, not everyone can build a car, but that doesn't prevent everyone from driving a car. Without thinking too much, Duan Ming walked directly to the center of the magic circle and sat cross-legged. Then he injected spiritual power into the 4 stone pillars, and then one could see the stone pillars begin to emit a faint light, which was gradually getting stronger. Not long after, when the entire stone pillar was glowing, dark blue liquid began to seep out from the bottom and slowly float along the runes. In fact, these are not liquids, but spiritual power that is formed into material form after various reactions. Duan Ming knew that this was the critical moment, and he couldn't help but concentrate. He immediately used 4 things at once to control the 4 spiritual powers under the 4 stone pillars respectively, so that they had the same rhythm and speed. This is the biggest difficulty in opening the magic circle. Not many people can do 4 things at the same time. Even finding 4 different people to cooperate and each control a stream of liquid spiritual power would require extremely strong tacit understanding and coordination. Therefore, it is not easy to open the magic circle. To put it simply, the method is easy to understand, but difficult to put into practice. However, this is not a big problem for Duan Ming. Due to the influence of the 4 methods in one, he basically does 4 things at the same time at all times. Although I can't say that it has reached the pinnacle, but at least it can be controlled normally. Therefore, the levels that would cause difficulties for others, on the contrary, did not pose any obstacles to Duan Ming. As time went by, the liquid spiritual power gradually gathered together under control and concentrated in the center of the magic circle, which was under Duan Ming's buttocks. In an instant, a light blue film suddenly emerged in a circular shape, wrapping the entire magic circle. At this point, the magic circle was officially activated, and Duan Ming entered the state of cultivation. 5 days later. Time flies by like a white horse passing by, and it is full of regrets, just like it is sad that Crayon Shin-chan will never be able to marry Nanako. However, for Duan Ming, these 3 days were extremely fulfilling and not wasted at all. At this moment, the energy of the magic circle was almost exhausted, and the light blue thin curtain was almost transparent, and it was about to collapse. About 30 minutes later, there was a crack, sound of glass breaking, and then the entire thin curtain shattered, and was replaced by blue stars that dissipated in the sky. Duan Ming opened his eyes and smiled with satisfaction. Not bad, the 9 nether corpse refining technique has improved a bit and reached the 5th level. It can be considered a small gain. Although that is what they say, people are always greedy. Every previous breakthrough in martial arts would bring about a sudden increase in cultivation, and even an improvement in realm. However, this time, although his skills had improved, he was still unable to break through and remained at the peak of the 7th stage of chi refining. However, Duan Ming could understand that as his cultivation and skills became higher, the effect of the formation would become weaker. It was impossible for him to get stuck in a bug all the time, otherwise it would not be an exaggeration for him to get stuck at the foundation building or even the core formation. In short, the current achievements are already very good results. I have finished dealing with the magic circle. Let me think about what I should do next. Duan Ming did not leave in a hurry. After looking at the little ones who were sleeping with Tiando in their arms, he began to think about how he could gain more benefits. His purpose for this trip was very clear. There were 3 of them in total. First, find the magic circle. On the one hand, it is about waste utilization, and on the other hand, it is about acting according to the process of the simulator to avoid the butterfly effect, which will affect the follow-up and cause unnecessary accidents. Second, look for treasures in the secret realm. After all, it is a benefit. Duan Ming can't help but be tempted, so it is reasonable for him to have some thoughts. But he was very self-aware and knew that with his bad luck, it was basically impossible for him to get lucky. So after much thought, instead of looking for the treasure myself, it is better to take advantage of the situation and snatch the ready-made ones. However, only 5 days had passed, and he didn't think anyone would be so lucky as to find the treasure in the secret realm, so he could wait a little longer. Third, kill Zhao Chuer. This is a real benefit, no falsehood. As long as the opponent is killed, he will definitely be able to gain benefits from both Fang Leng and Lingyun sect. It is definitely a good deal with only profit and no loss. How to say it, according to Duan Ming's own thinking, he definitely wants to complete this goal first. the only thing that worried him was that Zhao Chuer did not seem to be acting alone. At least in the simulation, he had been bullied by two other unknown women. If these two people also possessed the same strength as Zhao Chuer, then Duan Ming would basically have no chance of winning and could only watch helplessly. Therefore, after much thought, we still need to be cautious about this matter and not take it lightly. Forget it, just follow the simulator's procedures honestly. Don't waste time and you will win. Although he said this, for some reason Duan Ming had a strange smile on his face, with a look of madness similar to that of Wang Fa and Zhang Feng. And he himself didn't seem to realize it, just like some smart person who, after being cheated, still insisted that he was very smart in real life. Oh my, then just find a cave to hide in and see what happens. It was a good plan and a sensible idea, but for some reason his body was moving towards the entrance. There is no need to guess, there must be a lot of people in that place, and there must be many people who want to control the entrances and exits, and then carry out robbery, ambush, and collect protection fees. Just like that, this guy Duan Ming kept saying no, no, no. But the body was very honest and stepped into the larger vortex, and the momentum seemed to be unstoppable, as if it was actively seeking excitement. Chapter 89. Don't ask, just ask Han Linear. The entrance and exit of Secret Realm. There was a large crowd of people gathered, basically a dozen or so people sitting together, bragging and chatting nonsense. If you ask me, Elder Fang Lang is still the most powerful. Back then, he fought 1 against 2 and forced the 2 elders of Lingyun sect to retreat. His strength should not be underestimated. Yes, although Elder Fang Lang is powerful, his methods are too gentle and his temperament is also very generous. He is not as cruel as Elder Ji Yu Shun, so I still admire Elder Ji Yu more. I think the master is still the most powerful. We should take him as an example in our cultivation, so as to inspire ourselves to make progress. Hey Tilda, we agreed not to mention the leader. How can we play this? You are cheating. Yes, this is unfair. Otherwise, let junior brother Duan judge for himself. His master is Fang Lang. Ask him who he admires the most in his heart. Everyone was talking at once, and before they knew it, the topic turned to Duan Ming. He had simply lost his way, and arrived at the entrance in a daze, where he was unfortunately spotted by everyone. At this point, my whereabouts have been exposed and it is not easy to leave. Afterwards, with the mentality of gathering information, he found a place to sit down and listen quietly to people bragging and chatting. However, he was dragged into the topic unexpectedly, and under everyone's expectant eyes, he couldn't pretend to be deaf and dumb, so he responded immediately, "There are many people I admire, but you probably haven't heard of them." "It's okay, tell us about it," everyone said in unison. "I'm sure Elder Fang Lang and you have seen a lot of stories about famous people, so let us broaden our horizons." Facing the enthusiasm of the crowd, Duan Ming pondered for a moment and then smiled and said, "Han Li, Li Xuan, Ji Yu Fangyuan, these 3 people are the ones I admire the most. They are truly role models for our generation." Who? Everyone was confused. For a moment, everyone looked at each other, and none of us had ever heard of this number 3 person. "Brother Duan, are you kidding me? Where did these 3 people come from? I have never heard of their names. What is there to talk about? Yes, we can say something about any famous monk, but these 3 don't sound that good. I feel like I can beat all 3 of them." Stop arguing. Junior brother Duan is the disciple of Elder Fang Lang after all. He must have more experience than you and me. Let him finish his speech. The natives of the immortal cultivation world do not understand the happiness of modern people. Duan Ming just smiled and did not refute. He then said, "Han Li's shrewdness, Li Xuan's cunning, and Ji Yu Fangyuan's ruthlessness are all beyond the reach of our generation. They cannot be explained in just a few words. Let's talk about them again when we have a chance." In fact, Duan Ming really wanted to be a plagiarist and show off. After all, everyone has a passionate dream in their heart, and when they suddenly talk about something of interest, it is inevitable to feel a little excited. It's just that the deeds of these 3 people are too vast and I can't remember many of the details, so I can only leave it at that. However, he did not expect that while he was chatting and bragging, a familiar voice suddenly sounded behind him, immediately attracting everyone's attention. "Oh, I have never heard Master mention these 3 people. I didn't expect that little brother Duan Ming is so favored that Master can even explain the story of immortal cultivation world to you." The voice was very familiar, not unfamiliar at all, especially the word, "little brother," which was particularly harsh. Duan Ming didn't even need to turn his head to look, he had already guessed the identity of the visitor. He quickly stood up and saluted respectfully. "Fourth Master, Duan Ming is here to greet you." At this moment, Duan Ming's face was filled with a sincere smile. Anyone could see that he was genuinely happy, and his smile was very contagious. "Don't ask. The question is what I learned from Han Li, Li Xuan and Ji Yu Fangyuan. They are particularly good at disguising themselves and can do it effortlessly." In short, for a moment, everyone present was envious and sighed in their hearts that the disciples under Elder Fang Lang were truly united, harmonious and friendly. The sweeter Duan Ming smiled, the more envious they became. "I envy Duan Ming for having a master who loves him, and I envy Duan Ming for having fellow disciples who are united and friendly. Everything is so beautiful and his future is so bright. Why don't you remember? Call me little sister, don't call me fourth uncle. That makes me sound old." Zhao Chuer was also smiling, but not as ostentatiously. There was a hint of sweetness in her purity, which made people intoxicated. If Duan Ming was a person who thought with his lower body and drove stakes wherever he went, he would definitely fall at this moment, and would inevitably be merciful in the next battle. Unfortunately, the three monks he admired have all demonstrated through their own experience that no matter how beautiful a person is, they must be killed without mercy. Duan Ming dare not. There is an order of seniority. How can a junior address his senior like this? It is really against the rules. I will be scolded by my master. It is better to address him as the fourth master. This makes sense, and one can tell from what he said that Duan Ming must be a sensible and good child who is particularly well behaved. However, Zhao Chuer was very dissatisfied. Although she still had a smile on her face, a hint of murderous intent flashed through her heart, but she was also a little surprised that she failed to seduce Duan Ming. It was indeed a mistake. Thinking of this, Zhao Chuer suddenly changed her normal behavior, put on an attitude of, "I am the elder and I am awesome," and said slowly, "In that case, then follow me. Fourth uncle will take you to a good place and get some benefits." As soon as Duan Ming said this, before he could say anything else, the other disciples of the Broken Soul sect who were watching could no longer sit still, their eyes filled with envy. Just like that, Duan Ming left the scene amid the envy of everyone as he walked further and further away with his fourth uncle Zhao Chuer. About half an hour later, somewhere in a remote forest, with no one around, Zhao Chuer stopped, turned around, looked at Duan Ming with a smile, and said nothing. "Fourth master, why don't you leave? I don't see any benefit here." Could it be that Duan Ming was still acting, pretending to be ignorant, but the effect was not obvious? "You've already got the benefits, haven't you?" Zhao Chuer suddenly pointed at the 7 little things flying around Duan Ming, her eyes full of teasing. "Excuse me, little brother, where did you find them? Do you know what they are for?" Hearing this, Duan Ming was shocked and seemed to have realized the danger. But when he glanced at the little ones and saw their stupid looks, he really couldn't understand why Zhao Chuer suddenly had such a hint. "I picked them up by chance on the road. Fourth master, do you know what kind of creatures they are? Can you help me solve this puzzle?" Hearing this, Zhao Chuer couldn't help but laugh, her body shaking. "Of course." Then, as soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly burst out with strong murderous intent and went straight towards Duan Ming. The next second, the 7 little guys trembled all over, stared at Duan Ming with ferocious and bloodthirsty eyes, then opened their bloody mouths, revealing their creepy fangs, and bit him fiercely. At the same time, Duan Ming only heard Zhao Chuer's voice full of ridicule and teasing. "Little brother is really brave. He even dares to bring the Hell Devil with him. He really doesn't know whether to live or die." Chapter 90. Defeated by Han Lao Mo Clang. The long sword is unsheathed, and one swing kills 7 lives. Just as 7 bloodthirsty little monsters attacked, Duan Ming reacted quickly. But he did not choose to dodge, but instead took the initiative to attack and swung his sword. Relying on his powerful strength, after just one sword strike, the 7 little monsters were all killed by slitting their necks. "That's what I told you. How could a corpse-born child be so lucky, damn." Looking at the little monsters with hideous faces, and then recalling their previous aggrieved appearance, I couldn't help but feel a chill. Zhao Chuer seemed to be particularly happy to see Duan Ming embarrassed, and she began to explain in a compassionate manner. "This creature is a type of hell demon named Reverse Tooth. Due to their weak strength, they often move in groups and it is rare to encounter one alone. And because of her delicate appearance, she can often confuse unsuspecting monks. Oh. By the way, I guess you must have received their kindness too, right? I mean, They should have healing spells for you, right? Don't be surprised, they do this just to ensure the freshness of the food. Although it looks beautiful, it actually contains evil intentions, which makes people shudder. The more Duan Ming listened, the more uncomfortable he felt. It turned out that on the path of cultivating immortals, there was no time to relax and one could face life and death crises at any moment. Especially those seemingly beautiful things often hide huge dangers, and if you are not careful, they will be swallowed up without leaving even a bone. Little brother, don't you want to thank me? From beginning to end, Zhao Chuer just looked like a bystander, enjoying the show very much. And in Duan Ming's opinion, if she hadn't suddenly burst out with murderous intent just now, it is very likely that these 7 little monsters would not have suddenly attacked and killed her. After all, before this, everything was peaceful and harmonious. But once the murderous intent appeared, the situation immediately changed. I guess it's similar to the reaction of animals protecting their food. Once they encounter someone who has murderous intentions towards their food, they will think of striking first. Therefore, there is no need to thank, but instead we should settle the accounts. Zhao Wangchu Berdan, I have disliked you for a long time. You revealed your murderous intent on purpose, didn't you? Their riot was also your fault, right? There was no one around and a war was about to break out. Duan Ming was too lazy to continue acting and just turned hostile, cursing. Hearing this, Zhao Chuer's eyes suddenly flashed with surprise and confusion. In her opinion, Duan Ming was only at the 5th level of qi refining, and was her junior, yet he dared to speak so arrogantly. Even if she did have an intention to plot against him just now, so what? The weak should be bullied. This is the iron law of the immortal cultivation world. Therefore, Zhao Chuer was very unhappy for a moment. So what? How can you be so rude when talking to your elders? When I treat you as my elder, then you are. Duan Ming said with a smile, kneeling on one knee and stretching his hand to the ground. When I don't treat you as my elder, then you are nothing. As soon as the words fell, the earth suddenly roared, followed by a shaking, and 2 black wooden coffins slowly rose from the ground. 9 Nether Corpse Refining Technique, humph. I knew that the master would teach you this technique, it's exactly the same as that Lin Yuqing. Zhao Chuer's voice and expression were stern, and anyone could see her deep jealousy, which she did not hide at all. What, with your qi refining level of 5, you still want to fight me? Even if there are 2 corpses, what's the use of? Before she finished her words, Zhao Chuer shut up, and her expression instantly changed from previous dissatisfaction to surprise, puzzlement, and even confusion. The reason was simple, she saw someone she absolutely didn't expect. Li Bian. Zhao Chuer stared at the corpses in the coffins, one of which was her good senior brother Li Bian. That's right, based on the principle of never wasting, Duan Ming refined Li Bian after the war and made him his second pet. This is also one of the sources of his confidence. This is also the reason why he dared to come out alone with Zhao Chuer. Chou Bao, Li Bian, and himself can form a 3-on-1 situation against Zhao Chuer. If the intelligence is correct, 4th uncle, your strength should be qi refining 8th stage, which is the same realm as 3rd uncle. After summoning helpers, Duan Ming's confidence increased, and he said jokingly, you just asked me if I dared to attack you, didn't you? This should be what it means. Am I understanding it correctly? Now guess again, do I dare or not? Arrogant and domineering. As the battle was approaching, Duan Ming seemed particularly excited. There was even a hint of madness on his face, but he himself did not seem to realize it. In response to this, Zhao Chuer's expression changed again and again, from surprise, confusion, to gnashing of teeth, and finally fixed on a face full of resentment. You deserve death. It was almost like a roar. In an instant, Zhao Chuer completely lost her composure, no longer as calm as before, as if there was some kind of friendship between her and Li Bian that was worth talking about. Without further ado, Zhao Chuer suddenly condensed a silver spear from her palm and instantly became heroic, no longer looking weak at all. Look at the gun. The next second, Zhao Chuer took the initiative to launch an attack, throwing the spear directly out, and it turned into several afterimages, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. At the same time, Duan Ming did not dare to delay and immediately chose to defend, letting Chou Bao and Li Bian stand in front of him. Only, he had planned and thought about everything, but he could never have anticipated what was going to happen next. Zhao Chuer, who was in a furious state just now, suddenly turned around and disappeared in a flash. She ran away. When, after Chou Bao and Li Bian took the spear, they were also stunned. They turned back to look at Duan Ming, as if to ask again, what's going on? Should we chase him or not? FK, your idol is also Han Li. As expected, A Mortal's Journey to Immortality is the eternal god, an unsurpassed classic, and is in no way comparable to those stories about babies cultivating immortality or children's martial arts world. A novel actually depicts the real immortal cultivation world, and there are really people who behave exactly like the characters in the book. First he pretended to be determined to fight to the death to confuse the enemy, then he turned around and ran away without any hesitation. With this kind of mentality and this kind of adaptable spirit, she is worthy of being a woman who handles guns. She is quite capable. In short, Duan Ming was fooled and tricked. Not only did he lose to Zhao Chuer, he also lost to Han Li, the old devil Han. Chase. Don't let her go. Now that things have come to this, the only way to end this is to kill Zhao Chuer. She must not be allowed to leave the secret realm alive. After all, the corpse puppet Li Bian has been exposed. If it leaks out, the three uncles behind him will become alert. Therefore, Duan Ming had no choice but to chase after her, vowing to kill Zhao Chuer.